critical matchup in the AAC. 6-2 Navy against the South Florida Bulls for just the 5th time ever on this Veterans Day weekend. And the standings, well, they tell the story at this late hour in November. The Mids controlled their destiny to reach the AAC championship game. Standing in their way, the Tulane Green Wave next week. USF today, of course, and the undefeated Army Black Knights. He's Sam Acho. I'm Roy Philpott. Taylor Davis joins us in just 1 minute on the sideline. We've got two teams playing some really good football this season. And for Navy, they still have a chance to go to the championship game.
They do, but they have to start playing clean. Early in the season, the 6-0 Navy, the ranked Navy, they didn't turn the ball over, but the last 2 weeks, we've seen interceptions, we've seen fumbles, we've seen the ball on the ground.
No question, the stats tell the entire story. First 6 games of the year, second first in the FBS in terms of turnover differential, points off of those miscues. All 6 victories in those games. The last 2, an entirely different story. Setbacks at Rice and against Notre Dame. You see the numbers, not impressive. Something has to change for quarterback Blake Horvath, who appears to be healthy. He'll give it a go again this afternoon.
They have to start playing confident again. I understand when you play Notre Dame, they're big, bad Notre Dame. But when it's Rice, when it's South Florida, you have an opportunity to get back to who you are.
Bryce Archie, start number 4, in for the injured Byram Brown. He's gaining confidence and a little momentum in these last 2 games, both wins for the Bulls.
He's playing so much better. Bryce Archie plays baseball at South Florida as well. So you're going to see different arm angles as he throws it. But what I want to see is, will he pull the ball in their zone read game? Hadn't taken a lot of hits. This is going to be his opportunity.
Let's get you down to Taylor Davis for more on Blake Horvath, the Navy quarterback.
Yeah, after 2 consecutive losses, quarterback Blake Horvath said this game is about getting back to the roots. He said the message with the teammates this week has been come back fighting, which is a lot easier to do when you're playing meaningful games in November. He said a 6-0 start, things are going well. You can stop emphasizing the little things, and that's exactly what got us into uncharacteristic errors, specifically all the turnovers. They want to play more clean, more disciplined, more Navy football. They feel they left too much out on the field the last 2 weeks. They're ready to right the ship here today, guys.
We will see. The Mids can do that, traveling in from Annapolis, a critical 3 games to wrap up the regular season. And who knows, perhaps a chance to battle Army in the American Conference Championship in early December. Was the Bulls victorious last year in Annapolis? The series tied at 2 wins apiece. They remember November, and this critical stretch begins right now in the Sunshine State, in a league that is fighting for playoff respectability in this new 12-team college football playoff era. USF won the toss and deferred. Mids will get it first. And a penalty marker comes in late back at the 38-yard line. It's veteran AAC crew led by Kevin Randall.
Kicking team, number 19. 5-yard penalty to be added from the dead ball spot. First down.
And that'll push the ball up to the 30. Field position critical for a team that runs the millennial wing tee, a little midline option, some counter game, and Horvath's numbers, despite the last 2 setbacks, still very impressive and right up there in the top of America.
Yes, there's midline counter, there's option, but there's also shotgun offense. So that's what we're seeing right now. This offense does so much. Let's see if South Florida is going to be ready.
Brandon Chapman, Eli Heidenreich in the backfield, joining Horvath, who is smashed down, and a loss of 2 on play number 1. Now this South Florida defense has stood tall. That second half comeback against Florida Atlantic. Bernard Gooden with a TFL number 3 in white and green this afternoon.
Outstanding quickness by Gooden. That's going to be the answer to the questions that Navy provides. Can you be quicker, bigger, and faster up front and try to dominate the offensive line? Great job by Gooden on that play.
9 in the box. Heidenreich went in motion. He'll get the late toss. And on the option, Heidenreich. The 35 brought down there. And the midline option, a gain of 8. So
this is kind of right on the cusp of where they want to be. Navy wants to be in 3rd and 3 or less. Well, 3 or less because you could just fall forward and get those yards. If you get to 4, you may be able to still run the ball, but you also may transition to that passing game if you want that extra yard.
Mids this year stay ahead of the chains. Problem last week in rain-soaked Houston against Rice. The inside give, plunging ahead and stopped about a half-yard short. Jalen Schuler prevented the first down carry and an early decision after Teska rushed for 3.
And the decision looks like it's been made. Navy's offense is staying on the field, but that's that difference between 3rd and 3 and 3rd and 4. If that was 3rd and 3, that's a first down. Now it's 4th and 1 at your own 40-yard line. If you don't get this one, it's great field position for South Florida.
And they did move the chains. It is enough for the first. The initial indicator, he was stopped about a half-yard shy, but the reach, and he had yet to make full contact with the ground. That was the difference for Teska. And two teams that run dramatically different offenses. South Florida wants to go as fast as humanly possible. We asked Alex Golish yesterday about the speed and the tempo. How fast do you want to go? As fast as we can. Navy, a bit of a different story. Off the option, Heidenreich. Green grass in front. Eli Heidenreich towards the end zone for the touchdown. From 60 yards out, what a start for the Mids.
Don't let the Naval Academy fool you. There is speed on this team. Unbelievable blocking by Alex Teska, number 46. But Eli Heidenreich, the junior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, shows off his speed on that big-time run. Early success for Navy.
We've seen midline, we've seen lead option, and Heidenreich reaching pay dirt. As Kirkwood's on for the PAT. Well, lightning strikes here at Raymond James Stadium. And a great start for the Mids running this millennial wing tee, Acho.
And Eli Heidenreich, the cyber operations major. There's nothing too complicated about that run. Great blocking, great effort, high and tight, in the end zone, 7-zip, Navy.
There is no life I know to compare with your imagination. Take a look and you will see into your imagination.
Welcome to the best season of the year. Football. Welcome to the comebacks, the stars, the exclusives, the comedy, and the best booth in the game.
Is that a new tie? Sure is.
Welcome to a dynasty in the making, a sibling rivalry for the ages. Welcome to the 2024 NFL season.
What are you doing?
Seriously?
These are my buttons. Only I press these buttons.
Welcome to the best season of the year. Football. Welcome to the unpredictable, the unforgettable, the unbelievable. Welcome to the 2024 NFL season.
Jason, seriously?
One possession, one touchdown, thanks to the career-long run by Eli Heidenreich moments ago.
But also thanks to the career block by Brandon Chapman. Check out number 24, Brandon Chapman, 5'9", 167. Gonna get a block on the 6'3", 225 Jalen Schuler. You call it a block, but he got in the way. And then Alex Teska gets in the way as well. It's not about how big you are, but if you get in the way of the defender, you'll be able to help your guy to the end zone.
Sam, I don't know if you know, but Heidenreich, Alex Teska, high school teammates, Mount Lebanon back in Pittsburgh, PA. Story that has been well covered, and the ensuing kickoff reaching the end zone. And that means Bryce Archie, start number 4. Byron Brown close to being fully healthy. Alex Golish told us yesterday, man, he looked good in practice, but still not ready to pull that trigger. And for Archie, he's gotten better with each and every quarter in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, he's looked good, and especially their last game. In the second half, 6 straight scoring drives. So you're noticing the calm in his game and the comfort as well as the confidence.
And he's got all kinds of running back talent in that backfield. And the first touch, Kelly Joyner Jr., 6-year player, has overcome so much in his South Florida career. Bullies his way for a gain of 2. Justin Reed with the tackle. And Joyner, laundry list of injuries over the course of those 6 seasons. To the edge and across the 30. Brought down to the 31 by Peel. So a 4-yard gain. The tempo, well, it's brisk, but quickly it's 3rd and 4. And down on the turf, Sean Peel. And Peel quickly to his feet. So we take a look at today's Impact Players, brought to you by Cracker Barrel. That was one of your impacts.
Correct. Deshaun Peel, he's the boundary corner. And this offense for South Florida loves to throw the ball to the boundary. If he gets back in there, it's going to be big. Landon Robinson, defensive tackle. He's the guy that's going to try and stop the run game. He plays with great hands and great technique. On the other side for South Florida, it's two of their three running backs, Naquan Wright and Kelly Joyner. Wright, number 5, is more of a bruiser. Joyner has the speed.
Both made big plays in the comeback against FAU last week. On the move, wide open, and a first down, tumbling down. And the grab made by Sean Atkins. Career reception number 164. Back to the line. Bulls operating quickly. Joyner will push his way across the 40. Kyle Jacob, the tackle. And a 5-yard gain. What is kind of pace? It makes you tired almost as a broadcaster watching how quickly the ball is snapped by the Bulls. Joyner brought down at the line.
But notice how quickly, Roy, it's already third down. So as much as you want to go pace and go fast and have the defense on their toes, right now the offense for South Florida is in 3rd and 3. So if you don't get this first down, all of a sudden that pace works against you, because now the other team's going to get the ball and they're going to try and hold on to it for as long as they can, especially because it's Navy.
Bulls coming off of back-to-back wins in search of their 3rd win in a row for the first time in a long time, and that's a first down. Rumbling into Navy territory. Into the red zone. Brought down to the 19, a gain of 37 for Jaquan Smith. Just his 4th reception of the season.
Yeah, but the speed is no surprise. Jaquan Smith, he's 5'10", 180. As you see, they're already up at the line.
Joyner pummeled down, and a gain of a yard.
But Jaquan Smith, he actually runs on the USF track team. And so you think about the speed they have all over the field. Smith is one of those guys that shows it off early and often.
The speed for the Bulls pops when you watch this program on film. Intercepted right across the middle. Kyle Jacob. And a costly mistake by Bryce Archie. 5th interception of the season, and the Mids are in business. 2nd pick of the season for the senior from Jersey, Kyle Jacob. All-state wrestler. Showed you the outstanding soft hands on that pick.
Yeah, so Bryce Archie does not see Kyle Jacob. He's right in the middle of your screen. Bryce Archie's looking at his receivers. He's got his hands on the ball, but he's going through his read. He misses Jacob right in the middle of your screen. This comes when you have a lot of youth. He spent 2.5 years on the bench. This is only his 3rd or 4th start. Game action. So that's to be expected for a younger quarterback when it comes to starting.
We started the show talking about turnovers the last 2 games. It has not been there for the midshipmen. They reversed that trend to start here in our first quarter today on the road in Tampa. 4-yard gain for Heidenreich, the tackle by Schuler.
And notice the difference between this week and last week, War. Remember last week when Navy played, the first play of the game was an interception. Navy and Blake Horvath threw a pick. They're down 7-0, get down 14-0 versus Rice. Now this week, they get the early interception. So that momentum deal that people talk about is real.
Momentum is real here in mid-November. I like it. 2nd down. Heidenreich, Horvath, Fofana. Loaded backfield. Pummels ahead for a 2-yard gain. Daba Fofana, one of the vocal leaders for head coach Brian Newberry. The Renaissance man himself and team captain makes it 3rd and short.
And I wonder now, Roy, as we're in this same 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, will Navy go back to that lead option? We hadn't seen them run that a lot. They run a lot of the midline, but that option towards the outside with someone like Brandon Chapman leading the way. I wonder if they're going to go back to that because they had success early.
The keeper, Horvath, in the option. Tumbling out of bounds is Amin Hassan. That's enough for a first down. And a 9-yard pickup on 3rd and 2.
Yeah, and Amin Hassan, the 5'7", 170-pound senior from Richmond Heights, Florida. This is that same option we talked about. Triple option. Blake Horvath could have kept it, but I think he made the right decision by pitching the ball. He's taking a lot of hits. You don't have to take every single hit when you have fast guys outside of you. who can tote the pill.
Fofana, Heidenreich, Chapman. Navy backs. And the inside give on first down across the 40 to the 42. Blake Horvath, we talked to him this week. There was a lot of time spent in the training room. Didn't practice a ton before the loss at Rice. That was a bit of an issue as he was banged up after the loss against Notre Dame. They got him the live reps this past week in practice on Monday and Tuesday. Outside of eating, going to class, study hall, and all of the responsibilities for the mids, he was in the training room making sure he was doing his best to get healthy.
Well, he was in the training room when we had our call with him. We did our Zoom with him, and he was in the middle of his rehab. That shows commitment, but also shows how important it is to get your body right when you're the one who touches the ball and carries the ball most of the time.
Heidenreich went in motion, and a handoff to Teska. Close to a first down, a 5-yard pickup. Third and less than a yard.
This is exactly where you don't want to be if you're the South Florida defense. Remember early in the game, South Florida had that big-time tackle for loss by Bernard Gooden. This series, we haven't seen Navy go backwards. They're falling forward. They're getting 3-5 yards a pop. It bodes well for the Navy offensive line, but somebody on that D-line has to be able to get penetration in the backfield to get Navy off schedule.
It's a hot day in Tampa. Both teams planning on substituting regularly, especially at the line of scrimmage. Horvath with a crease, still on his feet, tackled from behind. At the plus 45 coming up later today, 3:30 Eastern, ABC, ESPN Plus. Well, we take you to Oxford, Mississippi, third-ranked Georgia. Hotty-toddy Ole Miss and the Fighting Lane Kiffins, ranked 16th in the country. Critical game in the SEC. Later tonight, LSU and Alabama, a top 15 showdown in Death Valley. Baton Rouge, the place to be. What some are calling an elimination game for the new 12-team college football playoff. Navy has yet to throw a pass this afternoon. Horvath banged down hard. And a gain of 2 on first down. Jalen Schuler, Rico Watson combined to make the stop.
Yeah, Roy, usually people watch games and they track certain things, certain tendencies. I want to track how many times you say bang down hard or hit hard when it comes to Blake Horvath. This dude gets hit often, and he's dealing with a ton of injuries. And so as much as this triple option, the quarterback wants to keep it until they force you to pitch it, it may be wise for Horvath to get rid of the ball a little bit early so he keeps some of those hits off his body.
On second down, we can have a running graphic if you would like, and I think we're at number 2 there. Rico Watson, the tackle of Teska. It's a loss of 3 and a big play for the Bulls defensively.
And the reason why is now you're in that obvious pass situation. One thing Navy doesn't do a lot of is obvious pass situations. The offensive linemen are used to blocking different types of formations, but now the defensive line can just tee off and try and go get the quarterback.
Heidenreich goes in motion. He'll fake it to him. Horvath trying to set up the screen, and he does so. Chapman's got it and should have enough for the first. Needed to cross the 35, and he did on 3rd and long, give him 12, and the drive continues for the Mids.
Yeah, great job. So it's obvious pass, but not so obvious, right? Because it's a screen. The defense on 3rd and long says, this is finally my opportunity. I'm tired of this midline, tired of this speed option. Let me go get the cue. Then all of a sudden, they lure you up the field like a fish and some bait, and they throw it right behind you. Great play calling by Navy.
10th play of the drive for the midshipmen. 6 wins, 2 losses, 4-1 in the AAC. In control of their destiny to reach the championship on the swing pass. It sails incomplete, looking for Isaiah Bryant. Brian Newberry, longtime defensive coordinator under Ken Niumatalolo, took over as the head coach before last season. 5-7 in year 1, a totally different story in his second campaign, leading the midshipmen. And a quiet confidence for Navy's head man after this fast start in 2024. On second down, straight ahead through the A-gap. Fofana picks up a first as we get you to the studio and Kevin Connors for the first time.
Roy, good afternoon. After Georgia Tech took the lead on Miami, Trevor Maddich, this is Cam Ward to Elijah Arroyo.
The receivers on the left crossed, the defenders got crossed up, and there was no deep safety to stop the breakout.
Haynes King getting the start at quarterback for Tech. Roy at 7-7.
Miami and Georgia Tech tied. Teska, after picking up the first down, ahead to the 20, goes Heidenreich, and Schuler chopped him down, just a 2-yard pickup. We got big games all Saturday long, starting here in the noon window, and then we just told you about 2 critical games in the SEC later.
Yeah, but talking about our game, Roy, I'm looking at the sideline of South Florida. We're on that side of the field, and they feel dejected. And you wonder why. This is what, a 12 or 13 play drive. You're already down 7. You threw an interception. You're feeling like, man, get me back on the field so I can do something if you're the offense. But the defense for South Florida has not been able to slow down this option game.
13th play, nearly 7 minutes off the clock. A close pitch to Chapman. He'll make it work all the way to the end zone.
So now they have the counter option game. It's the option, but it fakes one way and goes the other. It puts the defender in a bind. They don't know who to cover. Then the great blocking downfield by the receivers. Brandon Chapman has caught receiving touchdowns. He has rushing touchdowns. And also he had that big time block as a 5'7" human being. Excuse me, 5'9". Let me not steal 2 inches, Roy.
I mean, it's a big deal when you're looking at people that maybe are somewhat vertically challenged, like your humble play-by-play person.
Are you 5'7", 5'9"? Where are we actually at with
On
the
a
height?
good day, if the hair's a little taller, maybe. The touchdown for Navy after a 13-play, 79-yard drive. Nearly 7 minutes off the clock. Brandon Chapman reaching the end zone.
Welcome back to Raymond James Stadium. Navy's Brandon Chapman with the score right before the break. A guy that coaches refer to as selfless. Chapman was raised by a single mom, Tiani Brown, who worked multiple jobs to support him, always encouraging responsibility, academics, and leadership, things that the Naval Academy embodies. At times, Chapman had to live in the garage to rent out his bedroom to help his mom support their family. But it's a role, he said, he didn't flinch. He said, I owe everything to my mom. The same way he approaches his teammates. The coaches rave about the character, saying this is the kind of guy that plays bigger than what he is. He never shies away from a challenge, and he will do anything for the brotherhood of Navy.
And Taylor, a Florida native, returning here to Tampa. Always smiling, according to head coach Brian Newberry. Great attitude. Has had some problems keeping on weight, and so they've tried to make sure they feed him as much as possible. But man, you watch the explosiveness, and in this option attack, the ability to navigate his way down the field in traffic, that vision was impressive.
Well, it's not just the explosiveness, Roy. It's also the self-sacrifice. I mean, for you to go and try and block a 6'3" linebacker, not caring if you get run over, but knowing you're going to help your brother score, then for you to be able to get the ball and get into the end zone and help your brother score, TD, you talked about the brotherhood, what they call this, what they do at Navy. He's showing it, and he's embodying the brotherhood.
Teron Keith in at running back for the first time. South Florida went straight down the field on its first possession. And the interception thwarted what could have been a field goal or a touchdown possession. 1-yard pickup, and for Bryce Archie, I mean, that's something you got to bounce back from. And the confidence when you miss a linebacker and the way that he missed Kyle Jacob certainly has to be shaken. Staff did rave about his ability to compartmentalize mistakes. In our meetings yesterday, Colin Ramos, first time we've called his name, a semifinalist for the Lombardi Award. That was announced back on Wednesday. He made the tackle. It's 3rd and 9 quickly.
That was announced. I think it was not announced by you. He didn't know until you said something. We were on our call, and you're like, hey, congratulations. And he's like, oh, thanks for telling me, Roy.
There was a bit of a surprise on the face. He was appreciative to find out the intel one way or another. Archie slings it, and it's incomplete. Falling down was Peyton Singletary, the tight end. 9 catches on the season, could not corral it cleanly.
I actually have no issues with this ball by Bryce Archie. He's actually trying to throw it in between 2 defenders, so he's leading Singletary away from one and towards the other. So I think that's a ball that goes a little bit wide. Singletary can come down with to help out his young quarterback.
that's a drop pass that could cost South Florida about 7 or 8 minutes of game time, given what we just saw, the 13-play effort by the midshipmen moments ago.
And not just the minutes, the 7 minutes, but the potential 7 points. You're already down 14-0. Imagine going down 21-zip to a Navy team that loves clock control. It could be very, very tough.
Stokes punts it to Heidenreich, and the fair catch at the 38. A punt of just 36. Mids get it back, already out to a 14-point lead.
ESPN College Football is presented by Ashley, for the love of home.
Yesterday here on campus at the University of South Florida, the 35,000-seat stadium for head coach Alex Golesh, as they will make their way back on campus in the fall of 2027. We know that that first game will occur against Louisville, a $140 million stadium, and Op Center set to be completed by that point in time. And well, they've been talking about it in these parts for a number of years, to finally witness the groundbreaking yesterday as Horvath carries it across the 40. And the renderings, well, they tell the total story with what the on-campus venue is going to look like. The Op Center, as we mentioned, a big deal and a chance to really recruit to an entirely different atmosphere for the Bulls in the future.
And a chance to play at home. I mean, it's one thing to be able to travel and play in an NFL stadium. That's cool and that's great, but it's not your stadium. Imagine being able to play at your stadium with your fans on your campus. That's beautiful.
Heidenreich off the toss, weaves his way for a first down into Bulls territory at the 48, and a gain of 8 yards. Mac Harris brought him down.
What's even more beautiful, Roy, is how many different looks we're seeing from this offense. I mean, we're seeing option, we're seeing pitch, we're seeing shotgun, we're seeing option lead, counter. If you're a football fan, I mean, we talked to some of the coaches at South Florida. They said, man, they even love studying this offense. So it's hard to stop if you're a defense, but it's fun to watch if you like offense.
You saw the time of possession slanted in favor of Navy. Fake by Chapman. Horvath was hit hard and was crushed by Schuler. A loss of a yard. It'll be second down.
And that was that counter option that we've seen earlier, but that's Jalen Schuler, the inside linebacker, getting in the backfield. Notice we haven't seen that more than 2 or 3 times. Somebody from South Florida in the defensive backfield. You have to avoid a block. He avoided the block by Brandon Chapman. He swam the block and got inside. And now you get Navy into second and long, which is not where they want to be. If you're getting 3 or 4 yards a pop, second and long is negative.
We're seeing the eyes and the speed, the reaction time of the Bulls on that play start to pay dividends on the fullback dive. Taylor, that's been a topic of conversation on the Bulls sideline, right?
Yeah, you guys mentioned the sideline seeming dejected. I would say there's elements of confusion. They're asking a lot of questions. They're requesting to see things on the iPads. And like Coach Golesh pointed out to us this week, this isn't the Navy offense of old. A lot of formation variation and shifts. It's a lot of eye candy for this defense, and it's hard to replicate to prepare for it.
Should be the final play of the first quarter. It's the 3rd time this season Navy has secured over 100 rush yards, 2 rushing touchdowns in quarter number 1. That's the most in the FBS, and they have a 2-touchdown lead 15 minutes in.
If I was to describe this sandwich in one word, I would say magical. Hi, this is Jamor, and the little thing that I love about the Chick-fil-A honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich is that extra oomph. I go back and forth from the spicy filet to the original filet. Personally, I get into the sweetness of the honey. That's what hits first. Then you have the extra kick from the spicy filet, and then you also have the spice of the jalapeno peppers. The combination alone takes it over the top. It's award-winning in my mind.
Real customer paid for their testimonial.
Welcome back inside Raymond James Stadium. Navy with a 14-0 lead. Coach Golish with me now. Coach, as expected, Navy really controlling time of possession that first quarter. How can your defense adjust?
Yeah, we got to be able to get off on third down. We gave up 2 explosives on load option, and as they keep converting these third and shorts, we're obviously not getting possessions. We got to get off the field on third down. We got to stop the load option. 2 really simple things that we haven't done yet.
Your quarterback, Bryce Archie, with an early interception. What's your message for him to settle in?
Just play the next play. Be all right. Play the next play. We put him in a tough spot there. Play the next play.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Taylor, thank you. 3rd down and 8 to begin our second quarter. Horvath was hit as he threw, and it was intercepted after the pressure by Jalen Schuler, and now they rule it incomplete.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. It is 4th down.
Decarius Hawthorne thought he corralled it for a minute. Nonetheless, the Bulls get a much-needed stop.
Well, those are their 2 best playmakers, Jalen Schuler with the pressure and Decarius Hawthorne, who Todd Orlando, the defensive coordinator for South Florida, said, Hawthorne, he's our best guy. Notice his hands. He avoids the cut block, and I couldn't tell if he picked it off. The referee said it was incomplete, but that's what little things help you with. Great hand placement, not getting cut. It keeps your hands available for a potential pick.
First 3rd down stop for the Bulls defense today.
The ruling on the field was an incomplete pass. The previous play is under further review.
Now Hawthorne transferred to South Florida from FAU, the senior from Birmingham. We'll take a look ourselves to see if he was able to corral it cleanly. He has forced 1 fumble this year, and this would be his first interception.
And I'm not going to lie to you, Roy, there's nothing more exciting for the entire team than when a big man, a defensive tackle, gets a pick. Not a potential pick. Potential picks are cool, but an actual pick, because those are usually the guys with the worst hands on the team. And it looks like he didn't get it on this one, but at least he gets in a position, right? You get the hands away. Of course, coach a defensive tackle on how to put their hands under the ball, but looks like it hit the ground, but great play altogether by Hawthorne.
Great start for Jalen Schuler already with 6 tackles. That quarterback pressure nearly forcing the interception. I agree with you. Call on the field should be confirmed. The ball hit the turf as he tried to get underneath the pigskin, and for Blake Horvath, incomplete pass yields 4th and long. The analytics tell you to go for it on 4th and 5 or less. At 4th and 8, Brian Newberry should elect to punt the football, and they'll take one more extended look. Our replay official, Jonathan Schwalbeck. And it's a collaborative effort with the league office back in Texas.
But I mean, as they're still looking at it, this is a huge momentum swing if it were in fact to be an interception. I don't think it is. You don't think it is. But the reason why is not just for the turnover, but also for the field position. If it is a pick, that ball's right around midfield. That's one big play away from being in the red zone or scoring a touchdown for an offense that loves to throw it deep. If it's not an interception, well, now Navy gets a chance to punt the ball. Now you may be backed up. Bryce Archie, his 4th action of the season, may be backed up inside his own 5-yard line. And so I appreciate the extended look, but the reason why is that it's such a critical play.
And the other notion is, could this be a situation that Horvath, where the arm wasn't coming forward, a potential fumble?
That's a great point as well, right? Because what the referees look at is the hands.
The ruling on the field has been changed. The quarterback did not have firm control of the ball with his hand coming forward. By rule, that is a fumble. The ball was recovered at the 49-yard line by South Florida. It will be 1st and 10, South Florida at the 49-yard line.
Decarius Hawthorne, it counts. That's the fumble recovery off the smash by Schuler.
And what the referees are looking at, they're looking at not at the arm, but at the hand. Is the hand open as it goes forward? And great job by Schuler getting towards that ball. The hand is open. There's no control, and the ball comes forward. And so that's the first big point. Second big point is immediate recovery. That's what we saw. No, it wasn't a pick, but it was good enough awareness, immediate recovery by Hawthorne.
I'll give Schuler all the credit in the world.
Double pass.
Backwards pass. It goes to Atkins, retreating and out of bounds, and Sean Atkins got rid of it. 164 career receptions. Throw it a little bit in high school. And it'll be 2nd down and 10. Well, you like the potential for a shot play after the turnover.
Well, that's what you want to do. You want to try and steal back Uncle Mo. We talked about momentum. You get the ball back, you take a shot. You're right around midfield. They used to call this the alumni zone, right between the 40-yard lines on each side. Called it that because they used to have the best seats in the middle, those plush seats. That's where a lot of teams take shots. That's what we're seeing from goalies.
You're back in Austin. You're sitting at the 50. That's what I'm hearing.
Alumni zone.
Here's a shot, and incomplete. Spinning around was Michael Brown-Stevens, covered by Williams. 3rd and 10.
Another thing to keep an eye out on this game, Roy, is Michael Brown-Stevens, he stays behind defenses. I mean, he's got great speed. So this USF South Florida offense has not been able to connect on a lot of deep shots, but Brown-Stevens is often behind the defense, which could spell trouble for the corners at Navy.
It's looking for a stop after the fumble recovery by South Florida moments ago. Archie, the crosser, Atkins, and a 1st down. Colin Ramos shoved him down, a gain of 18 on 3rd and 10.
Now we noticed that's one thing that Navy will do at times. They'll show pressure early and drop out. The issue is when you drop out, it's hard to get back into your coverage zone. You don't get there quick enough, you see what happens there. And a void zone that Sean Atkins is able to exploit.
How about the decision by Atkins to simply throw it away on the double pass moments ago? That looms large. Instead of taking a massive loss, Archie to the end zone and incomplete. Jaquan Smith was breaking free. And the junior quarterback from Powder Springs, Georgia, McEachern High School, just led him a bit too far.
And part of this, I'm thinking, Roy, I think it has to do with the connection between quarterback and receiver. Bryce Archie was not the starter, and so much with QBs and receivers has to do with that chemistry and that connection. I think he'll start to get it, but we have not seen it so far this game.
Only 3 of 7 with a pick thus far. And Joyner, the small crease in a gain of a yard. Pires the tackle. 3rd down and long again for the Bulls, and only 16 rush yards so far for South Florida.
And that's when South Florida struggles. In their 2 most recent losses, they're not able to run the ball.
And no Byron Brown. Joyner navigates his way across the 30. Well, to get some of that yardage, it'll be 4th down. Pires again chopped him down. And you have to imagine the Bulls are thinking about going for it. 4th and 5.
It's the time where that coach to player communication that stays on until 15 seconds comes in handy for a player with limited reps. Notice the coach is still talking. They're looking to the sideline. They get their signals, but now it shuts off. You see what the defense is in, and you make your adjustments.
10 of 18 on 4th down this year. Archie, pocket collapses, down he goes. Pires, his 3rd stop on this drive. And after the Bulls gain the turnover, the Navy defense stands tall. And what a possession for Luke Pires, also a Florida native coming back home from Annapolis.
He got 1, 2, 3 stops in a row, ends with a sack. Nothing better for a defensive star.
I was so excited when I heard this sandwich was back. I was like, cloud 9, 2 words, cloud 9. What's up? This is Mike.
And this is Celia.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich
Is the symphony of flavors. You can always count on that crispy, tender, juicy chicken, and it's got pickled jalapenos, and it's so good.
My favorite part is the pimento cheese. Topped off with the honey, it all comes together perfectly. I like the original.
I like the spicy chicken fillet. But either way,
You're getting a winner.
real customers paid for their testimonials.
When you need extra funds, it can feel like you're stuck without many options. But you do have options. And here at First Franklin, we've worked for over 80 years to be your first choice. We're known as the Friendly Franklin folks because we don't just look at your credit score. We take the time to hear your whole story. Then we find the right solution no matter what your budget is. You have a say in your financial story. Let us help you write it.
14-0, Navy leading South Florida. With Sam Acho, I'm Roy Philpott. Our Taylor Davis with a special guest on the sideline, the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy, Vice Admiral Yvette Davids. Taylor?
Thank you, Roy. Admiral Davids, an honor to have you here today. The first female superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy. What has that meant to you?
It has meant so much. I'm a class of 1989 from the Naval Academy. My husband's a class of 90, so coming back is just a homecoming. I couldn't be more proud to see the incredible changes that have occurred at the Naval Academy since I was then to now. You can be anything you want to be at the Naval Academy now. It is just an incredible, incredible honor and privilege to be there and see these incredible midshipmen.
Obviously, Veterans Day coming up next week. As a veteran of 2 wars like yourself, how do you spend that day remembering your fellow soldiers?
I always spend that day remembering fellow soldiers and sailors and all our loved ones as well. There hasn't been a year gone by that I haven't taken my children to see some sort of ceremony. This is important. This is important to us. It's our legacy, and it gives that incredible message that we do not forget and how important it is to our country. It's very important, my family and I want my children to see that and experience that and understand how much we owe to those who went before us.
So important. All right, let's turn to football a little bit because it's been an exciting start to this season for Navy. How does playing football at the Naval Academy help prepare these young men for life?
These beautiful men out here, these football players, they are just representative, and that was a really nice pass. They are so representative of so many sailors and Marines and others out in the fleet right now. This is teaching them perseverance, grit, it resonates. They're learning character out there, fair play, teammanship, and everything to the development of ethical men of character. And so that's going to translate so beautifully when they're out in the fleet. They're going to be just the best possible Marines and Navy officers that one could imagine. And they're doing it for their country. I couldn't be more proud of them and what they represent today, especially today, so near to Veterans Day and so near the Marine Corps birthday. Happy birthday, Marines, tomorrow. So
on display every single week. Thank you so much for your time and for your service.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Roy.
Taylor, thank you. Mac Harris, the tackle. That makes it 3rd down and long. That was the Superintendent, U.S. Naval Academy Vice Admiral Yvette Davids. So impressive and certainly so meaningful on this Veterans Day weekend.
You can tell she's a football fan, too. She's doing the interview, watching the plays.
She's calling the game.
Oh, well, Blake Horvath had Heidenreich down the sideline. Schmidt had been like, hey, Blake, go to Eli. I love it. Thank you for all you do.
And thank you to all of those watching our service academies, what you do for our country, including these men on the field facing 3rd down and 10 and a timeout called. (14-0) as we step aside.
I was so excited when I heard this sandwich was back. I was like, Cloud 9, 2 words, Cloud 9. What's up? This is Mike.
And this is Celia.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich
is the symphony of flavors. You can always count on that crispy, tender, juicy chicken, and it's got pickled jalapenos, and it's so good.
My favorite part is the pimento cheese. Topped off with the honey, it all comes together perfectly. I like the original.
I like the spicy chicken fillet. But either way,
you're getting a winner.
Real customers paid for their testimonials.
College football presented by Ashley is brought to you by USAA. Let's honor those who served this Veterans Day.
Veterans Week on ESPN, 14-0, Navy leading South Florida. We thank each and every one of the men and women serving this great country around the planet and showing which school today that they are fans of. For the midshipmen, still in control of their own destiny to reach the AAC championship game. And for the South Florida Bulls, 2 straight wins, trying to get back to a bowl game for the 2nd straight year under Alex Golish. 3rd and 10 after the timeout by South Florida as the play clock was winding down. Mids go back to their shotgun look in this millennial wing tee. Screen to the other side in the tunnel. Brought down Heidenreich for a loss of a yard. Byard, his brother plays in the National Football League, snipped that one out to perfection.
Yeah, he looked just like Kevin. Funny enough, I just texted Kevin Byard and said, hey, man, I'm covering the game with your brother. He texted me back. Well, now his brother makes a play. Taufik Byard, great eyes, playing safety, could have intercepted it. His brother does that so well with the Chicago Bears and the Tennessee Titans. But Taufik Byard has that football instincts in his blood.
Riley Reithman, the top punter in the history of the academy, over 44 yards per attempt, gets it away cleanly. And Atkins brought down hard at the 14 as we check in again with Kevin Connors.
And Roy, AT&T is keeping fans connected as we take a look at our multi-view over on ABC right now. Florida knocking on the door, but a pair of Quinn Ewers touchdown passes has Texas on top of the Gators. Haynes King just hooked up with Malik Rutherford for a touchdown. Georgia Tech leading Miami, and Texas State on top of UL Monroe over on ESPNU.
Perhaps some upsets in the works. Sam Acho, Roy Philpott, Taylor Davis in sunny Tampa. 14-0 lead for the Mids. Bulls get a stop. And Naquan Wright in at running back. South Florida has driven into Navy territory twice and come up empty on both occasions. Quarterback draw. Archie straight ahead. And a 4-yard gain on first down. And Colin Ramos remains on the turf at the 20. Well, he's been talking a lot this week, trying to get his teammates back to where they need to be after that 6-0 start, 2 straight setbacks. Sam, you always talk to the coaches about leadership. 44 in white and gold provides that and then some.
Well, he's a captain for this team, and that's the highest honor you can have as an athlete at Navy, to be named captain, voted on by your teammates. But more than that, we talked to some of the players at Navy. They talked about his style of leadership. He's not afraid to confront his teammates when things go wrong. A lot of players want to be friends with all the other guys. It's not about being friends. It's about getting the best out of your teammates and your brothers.
Started playing football and really took to it in the 7th grade. Off the swing pass, racing ahead goes Wright. And Wright's got some burstability. We saw that on display last week to come back against FAU. He's put up some big numbers and can break tackles. It's 3rd and short. So after a pickup of 4, it's homecoming weekend for South Florida, the groundbreaking for the on-campus stadium. And at a direct snap, a little trickery, and I don't think so. Wright was brought down short of the 25 by Xavier Arrington. It'll be 4th down, and the Bulls going to send the punt team on.
I love that trick play, but it felt a little obvious. I'm not going to say too obvious, but Bryce Archie just standing there, and then, you know, the offensive lineman, left tackle's kind of looking a little bit. Smart play, but it didn't work to perfection because the defensive line of Navy was ready for the trickeration.
We need better actors at South Florida is what you're telling me.
They need different majors, right? Major in acting and film study and review.
Management's not going to cut it.
Yeah, it won't.
Stokes turns it over. Heidenreich made the tackle on the previous punt for the Mids. Did not call for the fair catch after a punt of 49 and nothing on the return.
There is no life I know to compare with your imagination. Take a look, can't even see into your imagination.
Changes in the air. It's a new era, new team-ups, new stages set. Whose time is it? We'll see. This isn't last season. Nah.
Puts up a 3-pointer.
This time is different.
4 iconic programs tip off the season with fresh faces and renewed hope.
At long last, the wait is over.
The State Farm Champions Classic, Kansas, Michigan State at 6:30, then Kentucky Duke, Tuesday on ESPN.
This is the American Conference on ESPN. Back at Ray J. Exciting fall season rolling along. AAC on ESPN Plus, your exclusive home for more than 1,000 games and events. It's also the destination for All-American Championships. For limited time, new and returning ESPN Plus subscribers can get 12 months for the price of 9 months. Visit ESPNplus.com for more info. Movement up front as the Mids get it back.
False start. Offense, number 64. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Ben Purvis getting the start at left guard, the junior from Kansas. 1st and 15. Well, South Florida has been the hang-around team so far, despite the fact Navy has jumped out to this 2-touchdown lead in our first quarter. And thanks in part to that defense forcing the fumble and the punt on these last 2 possessions.
And some tackles for loss. We saw 5 tackles for loss so far of this defense. One of them was on that first drive. The next 4 were on those last 2, so they're living the opponent's backfield.
Teska in the backfield. Horvath keeps it. And remember, we heard the report from Taylor Davis midway through the first quarter about the Bulls players defensively going back, looking at the iPads. Sometimes it takes 15 minutes or a half to dissect and understand how quickly these option teams run their offense.
Or a series. Like, sometimes all it takes is a series. In practice, you try to simulate what they do, but it's practice. It's not the actual game. You can't run it as fast as they can. You're not the same size or same speed. And so now after that first series or 2, it seems as if South Florida has got caught up.
Fofana and Bryant joining Horvath in the backfield. And on the screen, incomplete. Amin Hassan tried to track it down. 3rd and 15.
And so notice, Roy, this wasn't a tackle for loss, but it was a penalty early in this drive. And so now, instead of 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 9, now you're 3rd and 15. Once again, obvious pass. Now, there have been some openings down the field, but will the offensive line be able to hold up, and will that USF be able to get pressure?
Horvath has been solid on 3rd down. Mids need 15. Play action. Horvath swings it out. And nothing doing. The Bulls had it played perfectly. Hassan the grab that time. Tavin Ward the tackle, ushering him out of bounds. It's 4th down. And the Bulls get their stop. Approaching the halfway point of the second quarter in South Florida. Rocky start with its defense after 2 straight wins. Different story in the last 10 minutes of game time, forcing the 3 and out.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the corners and the safeties, the defensive backfield for South Florida. They're stepping up and making plays. We saw Tawfiq Bayard with that tackle earlier, that PBU. And then we saw another safety making a big play.
Atkins off the hop, tumbles out of bounds near the 34. Well, this was the big story last Friday night, as in 8 days ago. Alex Golish, the comeback complete against FAU. They steamrolled Tom Herman and the Owls in that second half, and there was a little extra beef left over from last year's FAU victory against the Bulls. The blow-by with a handshake, Tom Herman trying to track down Alex Golish. He downplayed it in our conversations with him this week, but a little beef in the American. Sam, I'm here for all the petty. Call me crazy.
Hey, that's more than just a little beef. That's a lot of steak. Well done. I don't know what that is. Medium rare. There was something there, and obviously there's a little bit of a rivalry brewing between those 2 teams.
I'm more medium well, but that's just me. I catch a lot of flack for that. The way I like my steak cooked, that's just me.
Your boy's well done, so people don't like me on either.
Well, now I'm going to make fun of you. 2nd and 10, Taylor.
Well, guys, the players loved it. Let's just be honest, right? But when I asked his players about Coach Golish and what he brings, let's see how Kelly Joyner does on this big run, Roy.
Punishing finish. There he goes, Joyner. Still in bounds, and a penalty marker comes in, and perhaps a face mask at the end of that by Williams. And 2 flags are down, 1 back at midfield, and let's see. Well, a lot to unpack after the post-game handshake, or lack thereof, a week ago. It's a gain of 56. With a finish by Kelly Joyner. Likely coming back.
There are fouls on the play by each team. Holding offense, number 81, personal foul, face mask, defense, number 7. Those fouls offset will replay second down.
Now Singleton, Keyshawn Singleton, guilty party, is one of those young wide receivers. Sophomore out of Norcross, Georgia, and just took down Mayshawn Peel.
Yeah, and then Mbidi Williams going down to make the tackle. You see him grab that face mask. I don't love that holding call. I understand that his arm's a little bit inside the shoulder, but it looked to me like he was driving his feet. I see at the end, Deshaun Peel does a great job of reaching. Still don't love that call, but the great effort by Peel helps it to get called.
Dangler goes in motion on second down. Archie, pocket was collapsing and looking for Dangler. Taylor, you were saying moments ago.
As I was saying, the reporter curse is very real. All right, so I asked the guys about the exchange, and they said, look, Golish is a dog. He brings swag to this program. Yeah, we're 4-4, but we feed off his energy.
Now, you could sense that yesterday on campus with the groundbreaking, the new stadium. And he's got a level of energy and passion that resonates with this program. Flipped out of bounds, looking for right. And so on a running play that would have put the Bulls at the 11-yard line, the holding penalty negates a 56-yard gain, and the punt team back on the field.
Yeah, but Bryce Archie still had time to run that ball. I saw two things on the last series. One, the fastball should have thrown maybe a changeup or a slider, right, that went right by Sean Atkins. But on that third down, he could have tucked it and ran. Maybe he wouldn't have got the first down, but there was an opportunity for him to get close, make one man miss, and extend the drive.
And for the Bulls fans watching, you think about what Byram Brown could have done in a sequence like that with his athleticism, what he brings to the table in terms of experience. Ball was dropped by Heidenreich. He was thinking about all the green grass ahead of him. Brought down at the 29.
I understand this is not a turnover, Roy, but this is the second or so time we've seen the ball on the ground for Navy. We saw this at Rice last week. We saw the ball on the ground 3 or 4 times. A great job by Jalen Stokes getting that ball out, pulling at the arm. But Navy's got to be extremely careful because defenses watch that. They say, hey, guys, go to the sideline. Hey, the ball is loose. Ball is loose. Let's attack the football, and we'll get momentum back on our side.
Mids get it back after the 53-yard punt and the 14-yard return. Heidenreich fortunate jump on top of it. Still a 2-touchdown lead. Teska over the left side. Well, make sure you kick off your Week 10 NFL Sunday with the Countdown crew. Hannah Storm sits down with Russell Wilson, and Oz the Mentalist mesmerizes Saquon Barkley and the Eagles, plus a special Veterans Day edition of You Got Moss. All of that and the latest news from Adam Schefter. Sunday NFL Countdown, 10 a.m. Eastern. The Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, Dolphins and Rams at SoFi, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, ESPN. Monday Night Football is back. Tua and Tyreek, Matthew Stafford. Movement, and the Mids will be backed up 5 yards. It's funny seeing Matthew Stafford.
Ball start. Offense, number 85. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Jake Norris, the guilty party, and his wife dressing up for Halloween as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Kind of made the rounds on social media for a minute.
I thought you were going to say it's funny seeing Matthew Stafford in the Sleep Number commercial. Like, is he awake? Is he asleep?
He's been awake this season.
He has been.
But that trade between the Rams and the Lions back in the days worked out quite well for both franchises. Jared Goff, Lions maybe the best team in the NFL right now. Second down. Mids chewing up the clock. Horvath loops one deep. Man-to-man coverage and incomplete. A lot of contact. No penalty marker. Ben knocks on Velez. And Regis Velez unable to haul it in. It's 3rd and 11.
It's a beautiful play by Ben Knox. He's in phase with the receiver, doesn't hold, gets his hand around the hip a little bit, doesn't hold. But I have to give a shout out to DeMarcus Van Dyke. He's the secondary coach for the South Florida Bulls. I was down on the field, I heard him encouraging the guys. He talked about how they were going to be the difference in this game. You would think it'd be the guys up front, but the way that Navy likes to play, The secondary in tackling and in coverage has been the difference in these last 3 drives to get Navy off the field.
Lofted way up in the air for the screen, and no running room. The South Florida defense, Tavin Ward, now with their 4th consecutive stop against this Millennial Wing team.
Tavin Ward, 6'1", 197 junior from Fort Myers, Florida. And these safeties, I just got to go back to it. They're all over the field. Ward was the one who had that big play last series, excuse me. And so that's the second 3rd down tackle in a row getting Navy off the field.
That is the highest screen pass that I've ever seen in person. That's like a rainbow arcing 3 in basketball. Reithman and Sean Atkins retreats and now takes off to the perimeter. Lasso down near the 35. As we get set to take a look at our player spotlight, brought to you by Oral-B. Colin Ramos, the senior linebacker, team captain, and he has done everything for the midshipman over the course of his career.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. And I know, Taylor, we talked to him earlier, and there was that story that you were talking about with him and his coach. I know you want to get into that a little bit.
I mean, this is a guy that is truly a sponge. The coaches talk about how they don't even know how he's everywhere on the field at once. But yes, mentors in his life are something he relies on very heavily. And he talked about Daniels, a coach of his who had experience in the NFL, played for the Giants, and he helped him. At one point, guys, he was playing running back and safety and then made the transition to linebacker. He said, I had 1 FBS offer out of high school. I've always been undersized, basically been told I had everything working against me, and I had to find ways to make those my advantage. The coaches, the teammates, they rave about him, saying he is the epitome of Navy football.
And people talk about his size often. He's like, oh, I'm not big enough, not strong enough. But he does so many little things well. Has great hand placement, plays with great leverage, plays with great force. And so sometimes, even though you may be undersized, you can do other things to make up for what people think that you lack.
He said it's been tough love, it's been hard love in these last 2 weeks with the consecutive losses, as Jalen Stokes has helped up for the South Florida Bulls near the 28. And certainly a good sign he remained on the ground there for a moment. Senior, Auburndale, Florida.
And Roy, obviously we're talking about Colin Ramos and the defense, but South Florida has an opportunity. South Florida has a huge opportunity right now. They get the ball in the second half. This is the last 5 minutes or so, 4.5 minutes of the first half. If South Florida can go and score, take a little bit of clock off. I know you want to go fast, but go and score, get the ball back. All of a sudden, instead of being 14-0, now it's 14-14 to begin the 3rd quarter. So score now, get the ball back, score again. That's that swing that people talk about.
You saw Stokes grabbing his left shoulder as he hit the turf moments ago. Bulls get it back from the 35, and Joyner. A patient run of 2 yards, and you feel like he's got the ability to cut one up the field, as we saw moments ago, negated by the penalty. Kyle Jacob had the first quarter interception with the tackle there. 2nd and 8. Archie, a clean pocket all afternoon to survey, and as a man wide open and dropped by Michael Brown-Stevens. Sam, it should have been 6.
Well, we talked about Michael Brown-Stevens. He gets behind defenses. He's also related to John Legend. That's his uncle. And I need to make the ordinary catch, right? We're ordinary people. That's an ordinary catch, Michael Brown-Stevens. You're right there. You have to focus and finish for your team. That's the thing. There's 2 phases in football. One of it is the athletic ability, be able to get behind guys. The other part of it is the mental part, to be able to finish. Michael Brown-Stevens will get another opportunity next time, finish.
3rd down and 8. Archie will buy a little bit of time, not much, slammed down. Now the ball came out, and they're going to allow this play to conclude. It felt like the arm or the hand was moving forward, but the pressure by Parker forced Archie's hand to get rid of it. And again, is the hand coming forward? We saw that in play on Blake Horvath's fumble just a few minutes ago.
And that's what they're talking about, Roy. Hand coming forward with firm control. If there is firm control, it's incomplete pass. If there is not firm control, it's a fumble.
Well, you and I have seen a lot of this kind of play.
The ruling on the field was the quarterback's knee was down prior to throwing the ball. It'll be 4th down at the 32-yard line.
So a sack for Mark Anthony Parker. And the freshman just picked up the first sack of his young career out of Fredericksburg, VA. That makes it 4th and 13. So with a knee down and still firm possession. Tackle behind the line. And now the 3rd straight 3 and out for the Bulls. Stokes sends it the direction of Eli Heidenreich. Blown dead of the 14. Punt of 54 yards, nothing on the return. Taco Bell Live Más student section. Remember, all season long, student sections across the country competing to be the Taco Bell Live Más student section of the year. Make sure you download the Taco Bell app to learn more. Today, the herd is what they call it in these parts, and you can envision what that will look like. The on-campus venue set to open in the fall of 2027.
Yeah, and we talked about playing at home, but also just having your team colors, being on campus, not having to travel 20 minutes or so to go to the game. You can just have it right there. There's something special. I remember me walking on campus, playing at University of Texas, and just being in the stadium at my campus. You can't replace it.
How about the Go Army sign in the middle of that student section? You feel like Naval Academy, the Black Knights, could be on that collision course. How about a flea flicker? Heidenreich gets it back, stumbles towards the 20. The Mids were looking for a big shot. Schuler nearly came up with a big play for the South Florida defense. At the end of all of that, a gain of 6.
Correct. The reason it was only a gain of 6 is that the secondary, once again for South Florida, has everything covered. So Blake Horvath has to go to his 3rd option. Neither of the 2 deep guys were available. Goes to his 3rd option. That's actually another great job by South Florida.
Chapman went in motion straight ahead, a 1st down, and a little bit more for Daba Fofana. Gain of 9 yards. Acho, you can feel it from our broadcast position. 3rd down and long, advantage Bulls. When Navy picks up that initial 1st down, they tend to keep that possession alive for 5, 6, 7 minutes that we've seen today at times.
Correct, and that's the 2 things we've seen, the secondary and then living in the backfield. South Florida's done it at times. They're going to need to do it now to keep Navy from scoring at the end of the half.
Off the toss, Chapman, and one defender missed, not another. Stop at the line by Banks. Juan Banks, the tackle. South Carolina transfer, native of Tallahassee.
And if I'm Alex Golesh right now, I'm not afraid to start using some of my timeouts. My defense has played great. It looks like they're going to take it down to the 2-minute timeout. But your defense has played great. You want to get one more opportunity. I trust the defense, so don't be afraid to use the timeouts now that we're at the 2-minute timeout.
A beautiful afternoon here in Tampa, right along the water in our backyard of Raymond James Stadium. And Navy a 2-touchdown lead.
Kevin Connors in studio coming up on the Voya Halftime Report. Another record-setting day for Cam Ward, but Miami once again flirting with danger. Plus, we'll check in on Texas gutting the Florida Gators right now and look ahead to the big one under the lights in Death Valley, Alabama and LSU. Coming up at the half, Roy, I could almost feel Sam smile when I mentioned that Texas update.
21-0 will do that, and in fact, KC, there is a very large smile in our broadcast booth. Blake Horvath, after the 2-minute timeout, is stopped as we welcome you back. ESPN College Football presented by Ashley. And this is Veterans Week on ESPN presented by USAA.
South Florida. That is their 2nd charge timeout of the 1st half. It'll be 30 seconds.
There is something about Miami and Georgia Tech when they get together the last 2 years. Weird things go down. Nothing strange as we take a look at our college football playoff rankings brought to you by Allstate. With what Texas is doing today, Bill Napier, we know he's going to be the head coach at Florida the rest of this season and next. That was confirmed by Scott Strickland earlier this week, with a 13 quarterback struggling in Austin so far.
Yeah, but I do find it a little bit surprising because Florida has been playing good football. Think about their 4 losses. One is to number 2, number 4 team, Oh, they lost to Miami, Georgia. I mean, these are some of the teams they're playing 3, 4. So Florida has tough opponents. And I think with the newfound confidence in their head coach, I thought it would be closer. But, hey, it's early in the game. We'll see how they respond.
Aiden Warner in at quarterback for the Florida Gators. Graham Mertz went out for the season. DJ Lagway banged up in the second half against UGA. And out of the timeout called by the Bulls. 3rd down and 7. Horvath on the quarterback keeper. Tried to cut it outside and could not. Brought down at the 36. A 4-yard gain on 3rd and 7.
They need to call a timeout.
Bulls with 1 remaining. And they'll elect to hold on to it. That play clock winds down. 25 and counting. An interesting tactic by Alex Golish.
Yeah, that's the wrong decision. You got to. There's a minute 52 seconds left. You call your timeout with a minute 52. They put it to you. You have the ball with whatever you want to do left. Now, the clock runs all the way down to right above a minute. And yes, the clock will stop on first downs until the chains are reset. But I think they should have called the timeout earlier.
Booming effort by Reithman. Atkins from his own 10. Atkins still on his feet. A penalty marker comes in, and this one likely coming back. Stopped at the 35 upon a 54 return of 26. Sean Atkins, the former walk-on. Enormous numbers in his career in Tampa.
During the return, holding, receiving team, number 21. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down, South Florida.
Jalen Stokes cost his team. What do you think about some of the miscues today for this Bulls team? And they have been costly. That 56-yard run you see right here negated due to a holding penalty. We've had a drop pass that could have been easily a touchdown. And that mistake there will give South Florida very poor field position.
And there's something called hidden yardage in football. This holding we just saw, 15 yards of missed yardage. That holding on the play before, that long run, about 50 yards of hidden yardage. Hidden yardage in football is the difference between winning and losing.
Comeback route. Archie delivers a strike across the middle. Joshua Porter, 18th grab of the season. And a gain of 9. Archie now moving quickly. Fires it. Could have run for the first down. Instead gets it to the 30 to Singletary. He's also had a drop today. A 6-yard gain.
I know we talked about that timeout earlier. And one of the thoughts for South Florida could be how quick their pace is. They want to save it for a field goal.
Pressure around Archie. And a short pickup to Singleton. Well, he retreated. The Bulls going to utilize a timeout here. Deshaun Peel stop that play dead in its tracks.
Great job by Peel keeping the receiver in bounds. But South Florida, as a receiver, you got to know, you catch that ball, you get out of bounds immediately.
.33 seconds remaining. Bulls out of timeouts and facing 2nd down and 5 from their own 36. Well, this game has kind of been back and forth in an unusual way these last .15 minutes or so. Credit both defenses, but both offenses also appear to be stuck in neutral.
Well, South Florida hasn't got out of park yet. Navy they've been in drive, they went to neutral, they haven't gotten reversed just yet outside of some of those false starts. But South Florida needs to get into gear right now. They're running their fast-paced offense, but they're not able to run the ball. Now it's not the time per se to run the ball, but I will say this, in their win versus FAU, they ran for 319 yards. Their win versus UAB the week before ran for 154 yards. Their loss versus Memphis ran for 24, loss versus Tulane ran for 26. So it may not be now because of the clock issues, but if South Florida wants to get back into this game, their running game has to turn back on and get out of park and get in the drive.
And it's Wright, it's Joyner, it's Teron Keith, all with explosive plays last Friday night in the win against Florida Atlantic. And you think about the weather today, you see just 15 rush yards. Temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. You wonder if heat could be a factor. The humidity could be a factor. Joyner, a step back, check it right. And a face mask penalty likely coming on the first down grab by Naquan Wright.
See the face mask, looks like that's Kyle Jacob. Yep, pulling the face mask. The negative is this, that's 15 yards.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, number 43. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. Automatic first down. The clock will start on the snap.
So 15 yards, the clock does start on the snap, but it still stops because of the first down. But also now you're that much closer to field goal range. So big time mistake by Navy.
John Cannon, a great name for a place kicker. Missed from 46 yards last week. And on the go route, it's going to be intercepted. The mistake by Bryce Archie again. Down the far sideline. And the grab made by the Navy reserve player, Gutierrez.
So Bryce Archie feels the pressure and just tries to get rid of the ball, but this is a bad and an errant throw. Right there, I mean, it's intercepted by Ira Oniha, 6'1", 183. One thing about this, he is a quadruplet, so I think him or any of his other siblings could have picked that ball off. But he went to middle school in Nigeria. He's an aerospace engineering major, but didn't need a lot of math to figure that one out. Great job by Oniha getting the interception, and now getting Navy in an opportunity to try and get a first down and potentially a field goal.
So the pick returned all the way to the 47. And with 14 seconds remaining, inside give, rumbling. Teska just kept the legs churning. Full complement of timeouts. And one will be utilized with 9 seconds to go after a gain of 15.
That's their first. 30 seconds.
Talk about sucking the air out of a stadium. I mean, you're South Florida. You just got a big time stop. You have the ball, you're driving, and all of a sudden a second interception that you wonder, okay, who were you throwing the ball to? And now Navy.
10 seconds.
Navy has a chance to get points on the board, even though the South Florida defense has been stopping them for the most part.
Nathan Kirkwood staying loose. 4 of 6 on the season, his long of 46. The round of UAB in Birmingham last month. Soccer team captain in high school. And his father, Todd, 36 years as a member of the Air Force Reserve. He's got the leg strength to get it there. And from right here would be about a double nickel, 55-yard effort. 2 timeouts to work with, 10 seconds remaining in the half.
And your whole offense is available to you. With those 2 timeouts, you can still run any form of option. You don't have to pass the ball, don't have to get out of bounds. You probably need about 7 more yards to feel comfortable and confident in your field goal.
Horvath with time across the middle. Teska, the full head of steam, still on his feet, breaking for the end zone and a touchdown. What a play dialed up by Drew Cronick. As time nearly expires in the first half, and a dagger by the Mids right before halftime.
Talked about getting out of park and getting into drive. Well, they put that thing into high gear. Navy's offense had the whole playbook available to them. You could run, you could pass, you could screen. But that's a brutal sequence for South Florida. Interception, touchdown.
After the interception by Ira Onaya, Navy quickly down the field. The return was critical. They had 14 seconds to work with. No problem for Blake Horvath and Teska.
And that's a relatively easy route. It's not going to the sideline. Defense thinks, okay, do they have to get out of bounds? No. Not only is the whole playbook available, but the whole field is available. So great job by Teska. Look at the eyes by Horvath looking off the safeties, making the middle of the field wide open. And then the intelligence to say, hey, I'm going to cut back and get into the end zone because you know that clock is ticking.
Marco Austin slow to get up in that end zone. Youngstown State transfer to his feet and will walk off under his own power. Mids had lost their last 2 games. What a start in Tampa. 2 quick touchdowns, and then they'll close down the half in strong fashion after the turnover. And 2 costly mistakes thrown by Bryce Archie. Part of the difference of this first half. Nathan Kirkwood. And it's 21-0. Now Bryce Archie, the transfer from Coastal Carolina, has had his moments these last 2 weeks. This is not one he will want to remember. Just up in the air and an easy pick for the Navy defense.
Correct. Iro Nihal with the pick gets it back right around the 50-yard line, right around midfield. And then the touchdown to Alex Teska. Patient out of the backfield, an easy pass for Blake Horvath, and the blocking down the field. Look at the effort. Look at all those Navy mids down the field blocking for Teska. Quiet down the crowd, Alex Teska. Great play. Great play.
Now thinking about that AAC championship game, less than a month away. And a lot of college football fans around the country have forecasted and hoped for an early Army-Navy matchup. Black Knights are on our air after we're done in Tampa, over in Denton, Texas against UNT, what promises to be an entertaining tilt. Undefeated Army, ranked in the top 25 of the college football playoff for the first time in school history. And with a massive game against Notre Dame on the schedule coming up, Teron Keith hit hard at the 25 and driven down. So 14 points off of 2 South Florida turnovers. The difference in this 21-0 first half onslaught, an injured midshipman down to the 25. Navy in search of its 5th win in the American. It is on its way here in Tampa. 5th overall meeting between these 2 teams. Series tied at 2 wins apiece. And our score at the break, 21-0. Let's get you to the studio. The Voya halftime report starts right now with KC Trevor Maddich. Gentlemen.
All right, Roy, a late second quarter torpedo, giving Navy a 3-touchdown lead at the break. Voya halftime report. Veterans Day weekend. Unlike the folks in Columbus, we extend our sincerest thanks and gratitude to all who have and do serve. Buckeyes needed special teams play, Trevor.
They did. Their running game was very slow to get going. This set them up on the 8-yard line.
Will Howard going to keep it himself here?
And Howard carried them really early in this game with his arm. He started out completing 8 of his first 10 passes while the running game was getting up to speed.
A lot going on this play here to G. Scott.
Yeah, G. Scott is a senior, only had 10 catches coming into this game. They kind of hit him and then snuck him out to the left, and the defense wasn't expecting it.
And then a familiar face, Jeremiah Smith, setting a new Buckeyes freshman touchdown receiving record.
Don't you feel kind of bad for that defender who had to chase him all the way across the field?
He's got more TDs than Chris Carter did his freshman year. 21-0 Buckeyes are on top. Miami's been living dangerously week in and week out, getting Georgia Tech today. Trevor, Jamal Haynes ran it for 80 yards on the opening drive.
That's right. This was 4 plays for this opening drive touchdown, and they were all on the ground. Georgia Tech making a statement.
But second quarter, as you might expect, the big strike, quick strike, Cam Ward to Elijah Arroyo.
Right, and that was 2 plays for Miami to answer with a touchdown. That was a real tricky release by those receivers. They crossed, and it crossed up the defenders in coverage.
Haynes King getting the start for the Rambling Wreck, finding Malik Rutherford here.
And this is, look at the defense missed tackles. This Miami defense is what makes their offense so exciting.
I guess Miami has them right where they want them, down 4 points here in the second quarter. Florida and Texas has been a totally one-sided game over on ABC. Quinn Ewers to Matthew Golden.
Yeah, wide open, busted coverage. There's so much eye candy early in this game by Coach Steve Sarkisian of Texas. It's been just brilliant scheming.
Too many mistakes by the Gators, too. Anthony Hill Jr. forcing the Jacoby Jackson fumble.
Yeah, this is bad. Florida was hanging in this game, and they, given this fumble up, gave Texas a short field, and you can't do that.
Ewers 4 touchdown passes in that first half, one of them to Gunnar Helm. 35-0. The Horns up big. Over on ABC as we welcome you into the Voya Halftime Report. BYU national champion Trevor Matich, Kevin Connors here with you. Navy comfortably in front. What a race it's been in the American Conference all season long. 3 teams very much still in the college football playoff conversation. We get Army later today in Denton against North Texas. Tulane home to Temple on ESPNU. Memphis won last night. Navy in control today. Trevor, based on what you've seen through the first 8, 9, 10 weeks of the season here, who's the class of the American?
Well, I think it's Army. Tulane has been playing very well. They've got 2 losses overall, but that was to Kansas State and early in the season to Oklahoma before Oklahoma's injuries hit. Tulane's playing football at a very high level. The interesting thing there is that Army and Tulane have not played or not beaten teams that are currently ranked. And so which team is better right now? It's hard to say. I give the edge to Army just because of the nature of their offense. But here's the thing. Tulane plays Navy next week. That's probably going to be a play-in game for the conference championship. And Army plays Navy in the Army-Navy game after the conference championship games. That won't count in the conference standings.
Army does not have to play Tulane this year. Maybe a feather in the cap of the cadets there of West Point who play later today, 3:30 Eastern here on ESPN2. Take a timeout. When we come back, we'll look ahead to the big one in Death Valley tonight. Alabama and LSU. What's the plan to contain Jalen Milroe? Trevor will talk about that next.
This halftime report is presented by Voya. Well planned, well invested, well protected. You're watching the Voya Halftime Report.
With Trevor Matich, Kevin Connors, it's a bubblicious time of year. We take a look at the teams who are safe or at risk of seeing their bubbles burst. Heather Dinich says Alabama and Boise State are in right now, of course, as the final 2 teams, but she warns that Pitt and Colorado are trying to get back onto the bubble. Ole Miss, of course, Trevor, a massive opportunity today. They host a Georgia team that has Carson Beck at quarterback, who leads the SEC in interceptions. Why has he been such a mixed bag this season?
Pressure. There's a stat quarterback rating where 100 is perfect, 50 is average. When Beck is not under pressure, his QBR is 83 out of 100. Very good. But when he's under pressure, it drops all the way to 5, last in the SEC. So let's take a look at the difference and what that looks like. When he's got plenty of time to throw, everything works like clockwork. Now, top of the screen is where his first option will be. That receiver will be covered. So while he's looking to his left to see that materialize, his second option in the middle of the field is nowhere near open yet. He's got to run another 10 yards before he cuts across the field, but it's designed to come open later in the pass pattern so that when Beck goes from first to second option, he's now ready for the ball. Lots of protection. Beck is fantastic. But in this play, pressure will come from the right late. And as happens too often with Beck, it will cause him to lose track of what the defense is doing. Now, his receiver seems open when he throws the ball, but he doesn't account for 2 guys converging on that receiver. And when the ball gets there, not quite so open. Now, Ole Miss's defense leads the nation in sacks. And one of the reasons is the small things that they do well. The small thing here is come up before you go inside. That is 2 problems for the defender, or excuse me, the right tackle. The first one is that he fixates on that rusher going inside. The second is he can't physically see the real danger man coming around the corner until he's a beat too late to come off and do anything about it. So sack, fumble, touchdown for Ole Miss. Now, there are 14 different Rebel defenders who have been involved in sacks this year, and they will come after Carson Beck from every direction to make him prove that he can be better at dealing with pressure.
May well be the toughest 2-game stretch in all of college football this season. Georgia today against Ole Miss, next week against Tennessee. brutal 2-week stretch for the Dogs. One of the big matchups today, along with Alabama and LSU. You made the point earlier about Boise State right there in the college football playoff conversation.
Yeah, and Boise State is worthy to be there because with a big play offense led by Ashton Genty at running back and as a receiver out of the backfield, and with a defense that is one of the best in the nation at creating havoc behind the line, they can beat anybody in the nation in one game.
But if they slip up, a team like Army might be right there behind them. Navy saying, what about us? Eli Heidenreich leading the way with that ground and pound midshipman attack. It's been all middies through 30 minutes, 21-0.
ESPN's Veterans Week is brought to you by USAA. To honor veterans, USAA goes beyond thanks to make a difference for the veteran community. Learn how we can save lives at usaa.com/Veterans Day. This halftime report is presented by Voya. Well planned, well invested, well protected.
Big time Monday Night Football showdown from La La Land. Dolphins and Rams, Monday, 8 Eastern, only on ESPN. The massive implications in Death Valley tonight, according to the All-State playoff predictor. An Alabama win boosts their playoff chances to 80%. If LSU wins, theirs rise to 48%. Trevor, it's an LSU defense that has vastly improved. What's their best bet in terms of containing Jalen Milroe?
Well, containing him in the pocket. I mean, LSU, what they do best on defense is pressure the quarterback. But if they get out of their pass lanes, then it will enable Jalen Milroe to do what he does best, which is to create on the move. And whether it's running the ball or whether it's scrambling to throw, once he gets outside the pocket, the defense is in a whole lot of trouble. So it's kind of ironic, but LSU will have to slow down their pass rush and prioritize pass rush lanes so that Milroe has to beat them as a pocket passer and not as an elite dual threat.
So slow down what they do best, almost pull back on that pass rush.
Yeah, a little bit in terms of speed, because a lot of times what you'll see, for example, is an edge rusher coming around the corner as fast as he can go. But if he's just a little behind the quarterback, he leaves a massive gap, and Milroe will take that thing and go.
The significance of this game, the winner of Alabama-LSU in each of the last 6 meetings has gone on to play in the SEC championship game. Big time matchup tonight in prime time on ABC.
Veterans Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.
And welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by Ashley. This is Veterans Week on ESPN, presented by USAA. The oath of enlistment taking place during halftime, an emotional ceremony concluding just minutes ago back inside Raymond James Stadium. 21-0. The Naval Academy leading South Florida. Sam Macho, Roy Philpott, Taylor Davis joins us in just 1 minute. Navy doing what it typically does and finding ways to reach the end zone in the first 2 quarters.
Yes, and it started off fast and it slowed way down, but South Florida defensively was great. Offensively, they couldn't get it going, and that late touchdown by Navy may just change the momentum.
Yeah, Bryce Archie, the 2 first-half interceptions proved to be costly, and then Navy on the ground getting the job done, 255 total yards, including nearly 200 rushing. South Florida set to receive the football to begin our 3rd quarter. What's turned out to be a picture-perfect day in Tampa. Some final words of encouragement for Bryce Archie, making his 4th start of his young career, the Coastal Carolina transfer. He needs some help. He'll have a chance to take the field first. Homecoming in Tampa. Celebration ensuing yesterday at South Florida on campus. The new stadium, the groundbreaking. And Matt Grothe inducted into the Hall of Fame. It has been an incredible start to the weekend, but the Bulls have work to do, and Taylor caught up with Brian Newberry right before halftime. TD?
Well, Coach, a big interception that led to the score right before half. How key was that sequence for momentum?
It was a big-time play. I think defensively we played lights out the entire first half. Really put ourselves in some good positions, but outside of the first 2 drives, we really haven't had much success offensively until that last one. So had a couple of false starts. We shot ourselves in the foot a couple of times. We've gotten behind the sticks a little bit. We can't do that. So we got to get some positive yards on first and second down, have some of those 13, 14 play drives like we love to see. So we got to make some adjustments. We got to play better offensively in the second half.
You mentioned how stout the defense was in that first half. USF's ground game really got going in the second half for them last week. What will you tell your team at that?
Well, exactly that. They're a second half team. They played their best football in the second half. We got to come out like it's 0-0, and we got to win the half.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Off the completion to Atkins, Williams the tackle. It'll be second down. Bulls in search of a spark. Joyner upended at the 32 by Williams again. A 1-yard pickup. It's third down.
You heard about that mentality of it being a second half team, but notice how quiet the USF run game has been.
It has been absent thus far. Archie will try to buy some time on the rollout and just sends it out of bounds. 3-and-out force by the Navy defense. A pass intended for Atkins, and it's incomplete.
And I know we're not going to see him now, which is probably a good thing, but the reason that USF run game has been so quiet is because of Landon Robinson on the inside. Now, he's a defensive tackle, a nose guard. This play is a rollout to the right, so it's not too big of a deal. But the run game has been inadequate and unavailable because of the play on the inside. That's what's making it so hard for USF to get positive yardage on the ground.
Fifth 3-and-out forced by the Navy defense. Just 42 seconds elapse as the penalty marker comes in. And the ball be spotted at the 28. Busy afternoon for this veteran officiating crew with the American Conference. Kevin Randall will tell us.
Illegal formation, kicking team, more than 4 players in the backfield. That 5-yard penalty will be added to the end of the kick. First down, Navy.
We go back to the end of that second quarter. South Florida with a chance maybe to get a late field goal to get on the scoreboard for the first time. Bryce Archie's second interception, a big deal, and then Navy took virtually no time at all to make him pay.
Yeah, and Ira Oniha gets an opportunity to get into the game, and he makes a big play with that opportunity. Then Alex Teska, who's been the starter, he's actually the position captain for the fullbacks. He finds the end zone late. He stays patient in his run, but he knows how important those 7 points were for his team and their momentum.
Mids will welcome Tulane on Senior Day to Annapolis next week. Road trip to East Carolina. Jalen Schuler, Jaquez Williams stopped Teska after a gain of 3. All eyes on that AAC championship game in early December and the potential matchup with Army. Daba Fofana checks in. Jalen Schuler now with 9 tackles. Horvath will keep it, makes a cut, and spins down the 41. Rico Watson the third, a gain of 5. And the Mids will not be in any kind of hurry whatsoever. A 3-touchdown lead. Likely to go for it on 4th down. Facing 3rd and 2, and Horvath so far respectable numbers. We've seen Teska, Chapman, Heidenreich do a bulk of the dirty work so far.
Notice how that clock is just ticking and ticking and ticking. It's still early. 3 scores.
Chapman went in motion to give a first down and a lot more. Fofana stopped to the 49. Having Ward a gain of 8. Maybe on the move again.
Yeah, Daba Fofana, another captain for this football team. Doesn't need to do much because the offensive line does it for him. But that's a 3rd and critical. 3rd and 2 leads to a first down, and then the clock just keeps on tick, 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 tick. Tick, 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 tick. That's what Navy wants to do.
Fofana, the Renaissance man we mentioned in the first half, part of the orchestra in his first year at the academy. State champion wrestler. Late toss. And the penetration coming in for the Bulls. Michael Williams the second. TFL in a loss of 3. It'll be second down and long as Chapman unable to escape.
Yeah, you're seeing right here, early pitch, which is smart. South Florida forces the early pitch, and now you force another tackle for loss. That's what you want to do. South Florida's only chance in this game is to continue to stop Navy in the backfield, and then their offense has to be able to create, unless otherwise defense has to force a ball out and force a turnover and score.
Acho, the Bulls had 7 sacks last week against FAU. 6 tackles for loss so far today. Hasn't shown up on the scoreboard just yet. And for Todd Orlando, the mad scientist trying to slow down this millennial wing T, calling defensive plays for the Bulls. They've had their moments. Turnovers have been a problem. Teska chopped down by Williams. It's 3rd down.
And to your point, Roy, people don't realize, well, I want people to understand that though you are a team, there's 2 different sides of the ball. There's the offense, and they're in their meetings, even at halftime. Go to the locker room, all the offensive staff meets together. But the defense is on the other side of the locker room talking about their adjustments. And so South Florida defensively may be saying, hey, we got this covered, or let's try to force a turnover. But they can only do so much. They're going to need their offense to put up some points if they want to get this game back to being competitive.
Mids need 12. Horvath will throw it on 3rd down, and Heidenreich. It's incomplete. Ward in coverage. And the Bulls force another stop.
That secondary again. Great job by Ward, and solid pass by Blake Horvath, but just that's excellent coverage. It's a little bit high, right? Heidenreich, got to remember, these aren't 6'4" and 6'5" receivers. Eli Heidenreich is about 6 feet tall, and so a little bit high, but great coverage by USF.
Now the Bulls now with stops on 6 of the last 7 3rd down plays for Navy. Atkins back deep to receive the Reithman punt. And it caroms out of bounds near the 10. 21-0. Bulls get it back. Just underway in our second half in Tampa. Hey, don't forget college basketball season is here. Our featured men's basketball matchups tomorrow. Michigan, Wake Forest square off in the inaugural Deacon Wolverine Challenge, 1 Eastern, ESPN2. Then at 5, 6th ranked Gonzaga, fresh off the resounding win against Baylor, takes on the Sun Devils of Arizona State. Both available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. And while we have a moment thinking of college basketball, we remember our friend Amir Abdur-Rahim, the head basketball coach at South Florida, who we lost in October. Our thoughts and prayers remain with him, with his family and the South Florida community. And a man that touched so many in college basketball and also with the football program. AAR written on the back of the South Florida football helmets. We talked to Alex Golish yesterday about what Amir Abdur-Rahim meant to this athletic department, this program. Pass falls incomplete, and he said he was involved in football in so many ways, including in drills in the spring. He would be in there talking with these guys. They all went to Memorial in early November as a sign of their support for South Florida family and also for the family of Amir Abdur-Rahim. But it's just something that folks continue to talk about in the college sports world. One of the great personalities in the business. On 3rd and 10, the pass is caught, and across the 20, Sean Atkins secures the 1st down.
And as we're going to look at this 1st down by Atkins, just Roy, to your point, he was close with Alex Golish as well. Every Friday night, he would text Alex Golish before their game, and they would just have this relationship. So not only was he close with the players, but he was close with the coach. You talked about him going to practice all the time, and he'd actually ask Coach Golish if he could pull some of the players aside, say, hey, man, can I talk to this guy? I want to talk to this guy. And so just that relationship pouring into people, it means a lot.
Yeah, it's been a month here with the hurricane, the decision to play the game in Orlando against Memphis, the passing of the basketball coach, Amir Abdur-Rahim. And for Alex Golish, he told us yesterday, I have changed I've become a better leader in facing these kinds of adversities in a multitude of different ways. He goes, it's not just X's and O's and football plays here in Tampa in the last 5 weeks. It has been much more than that. And for a season that's been a bit of a roller coaster in itself, the addition of having to deal with those kinds of tragedies, not easy at all for the head man at South Florida.
Yeah, and Roy, I got a chance to talk with Coach Golish.
Comeback route is there, and on second down it'll be 3rd and short.
Got a chance to talk with him on the field before the game, and even just looking at his social media, he posts oftentimes about his wife and his kids. And I was like, man, it's so awesome to see that you're doing this for these young men. He says, that's the only reason I do it. That's why I started coaching in high school.
First career reception for Brandon Winton, and there goes Archie into Navy territory. Still on the move. Dropped at the 36 and a gain of 35 in the first big play for this South Florida offense of this afternoon.
And another reason you coach is to see your guys mature. That's what we heard. We want to see Bryce Archie start pulling the ball and running. And for the first time all game long, Bryce Archie on the zone read, eyes are on the defense. He tucks it and he runs and he shows off his speed. He's a pitcher in baseball, but he's also a shortstop. Shortstops, they got that quickness. So I didn't play a lot of baseball in my day. But they got quickness, and he's showing it on that big-time run.
Well, they got arm strength, too, to be able to get it across the diamond off the back foot, trying to get the out over at first base. Andrew Duhart, the injured midshipman.
I mentioned I didn't play a lot of baseball in my day, so I don't know what all the shortstops do.
Well, I mean, you're deep in the hole. You gotta be able to get rid of it quickly.
I don't even know what that means to be deep in the hole. I played 1 year of baseball, Roy, and I would close my eyes when I swung.
Well, that would be the 6th hole. If you close your eyes during the middle of the swing, that's an issue. That's why you decided to play as a linebacker in the NFL.
Correct. I don't like fast.
It's a wise move.
Thrown at me.
Well, South Florida only had 18 rush yards before. And now that 35-yard scramble. Throwing a baseball pregame. A little Bryce Archie. He's got the glove. He looks like a natural.
Well, he is. 96 miles per hour is his high. Had 18 strikeouts this last season for USF.
All right, that's getting it up there. And Atkins fielded that one cleanly off the turf like a shortstop. And he'll be stopped at the line. Maybe a gain of 1. Rayon Lane got him.
Because
ball pops out on the sack, and Navy hops right on top of it. Landon Robinson, Acho, you've talked about him. He has been magnificent this afternoon. Forced the fumble, and the recovery comes in by Jordan Sanders. And another turnover by Archie. And again, when South Florida was on the move.
Well, he's the strongest player on the team. Landon Robinson right there in the middle. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. He benches 450, squats 700 pounds, 33-inch vertical. So he's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's athletic, and he finds the football for his football team.
There is no life I know to compare with your imagination. Take a look, can you see into your imagination?
I was so excited when I heard this sandwich was back. I was like, Cloud 9. 2 words, Cloud 9. What's up? This is Mike.
And this is Celia.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich
is the symphony of flavors. You can always count on that crispy, tender, juicy chicken, and it's got pickled jalapenos, and it's so good.
My favorite part is the pimento cheese. Topped off with the honey, it all comes together perfectly. I like the original.
I like the spicy chicken fillet. But either way,
you're getting a winner.
Real customers paid for their testimonials.
At ESPN, we are proud to salute America's veterans and members of the military for their sacrifice and service to our country. Tune in this week for tributes and special features across ESPN programming honoring our great service members.
$21-0. Navy leading South Florida. 8:30 to go. Here in our third quarter, Sam Acho, Roy Philpott, the bear hug moments ago by Landon Robinson, forcing the 3rd turnover of Bryce Archie. And Navy's defense pitching a shutout thus far as the Mids try to get back to their winning ways. A 6-0 start, 2 straight setbacks, Yeah, I made it a point in talking to Blake Horvath this week. I said, watching that Notre Dame game, you guys were able to get what you needed to, with a very big caveat, when you didn't turn it over. 3 first-half turnovers changed everything. 6 turnovers in that game overall. But the midline was working. Quarterback follow game was working. Load option. They had elements where they moved the football, and it was a touchdown game in that second quarter. And then credit Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. They slammed the door shut. And he said, no, you're right, and that was not typical of what we've been about this year. And then it's almost like that carried over into the next week against Rice. There was a 5-hour weather delay. There were some turf issues down in Houston. And these gentlemen are not going to make any excuses for back-to-back losses. They were a bit unfortunate, I would say, especially last week. Rice took advantage, and now an impressive showing on the road.
Well, there's 2 things, Roy. There's 1, time of possession, and number 2, turnover margin. Those are the things that matter the most for Army and Navy. The reason why is that if you have that turnover margin in your favor, you can run your offense as consistently as you want. You can run the entire menu of plays. But if you start turning the ball over and you're not controlling the ball and you're behind early, now you have to throw it more, which you're not used to. And now the defense can do what they do best, which is rush the quarterback.
3rd down and 5. Horvath wants to throw it, dumps it off to Chapman. Made 2 Bull defenders miss, and then he's going to be brought down South Florida side of the field. So a short gain. Petway chopped him down. If you're Brian Newberry, do you think about going for it here?
Absolutely. I don't even think it's a, well, as they're running off the field, I think you go for it for sure. Right? And I get it, like the momentum, you don't want to give South Florida good field position, but your defense has been dominant all day long, which maybe is why he's saying, hey, our defense has been dominant. Let's play the field position game. Let's get them backed up. We know they can't move the ball on us, but I would have had no issues with them going for it the way their offense and defense has played.
On 4th and 3, the analytics say to go for it on 4th and 1 or less. Atkins a fair catch back at the 5 after a punt of 43. Well, we know Bryce Archie has all kinds of potential. He has flashed this season. And today, the 3 turnovers, well, it's been an issue. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, the first interception doesn't see the inside linebacker on the first pick. And then secondly, he tries to throw it up, but Ira Oniha gets the interception and runs it back right around midfield. Yes, there was pressure, but still ill-advised throw. And then Landon Robinson comes in with the big, bad bear hug. Not the nice, friendly bear hug, the big, bad one. And then gets that ball out. So that's 3 turnovers for Navy, which is exactly where they want to be if they want to compete, not just in this game, for championships.
Archie back on the field, the inside handoff, a quick crease closes up. Joyner across the 10 and a decent gain on 1st down. Is a bear hug ever a good thing in your mind?
Well, sometimes when you're with friends, they come up from behind you, give you a big old bear hug, but that wasn't that.
And it was Naquan Wright that stays on the field, back-to-back carries. And stopped at the 15 by Colin Ramos, who's back on, and that's a good sign for the Mids. 2-yard gain, 3rd down and 1.
I feel like when people usually reference bear hugs, usually it's in a nice way. You know, I've never heard it, you know, they don't usually show that.
Bear hug in terms of football, forced fumbles and sacks.
It's different.
Hits different, literally.
Oh, yeah.
Archie under center. They'll try to swing it on the jet sweep to Jaquan Smith. Let's see where they spot it. Needed to cross the 16.
It's like they gave it to him, and that was a critical 1st down. Critical 1st down, because then maybe forced to punt or forced to go for it. That was critical.
I'm glad you saw it was a 1st down. They waited a minute before they signaled it was enough to move the sticks. Archie to Atkins. That's a 1st down and a lot more. Well, you can see in flashes. He can buy some time, and on the move, he's been accurate on occasion.
Well, it's kind of like lightning, right? It goes so fast and it goes away. This is a play where he's patient, uses his eyes, gets it into Atkins. You saw that big-time run earlier. But sometimes with lightning, negative things can happen, right? So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing good flashes, but it needs to be more consistent, more like a light bulb that stays on.
Gain of 22. Tampa known as one of the lightning capitals of the world. Deep ball, double coverage, and incomplete.
They got a hockey team that follows suit.
Williams and Peel in coverage. They do. They're pretty good. They play hockey at a high level down here. Smith, the intended receiver.
So I know it's early, Roy, but I don't think it's too late to stick with the run game. And the reason why is that the pass game hasn't been working. Stick with the run game. I understand it's early to be talking about, hey, man, we got to go. But keep the defense off balance by running it.
That point, Sam, 54 rush yards. 35 came on that one play by the quarterback, Archie. Right motions out. We'll set up the tunnel screen. And Joshua Porter unable to make much of that sequence. Kenneth McShann, who's got the start today at that striker position for P.J. Volker, the Navy defensive play caller, had himself a very solid first half and replacing Jackson Campbell, who we've also seen. A couple of big plays. Third down now for the Bulls. Archie gets rid of it late and incomplete. Well, he bought some time. And the pass falls incomplete. Pressure was coming by Arrington. Looking for Sean Atkins.
Yeah, great pressure by Arrington, but I still can't make the big enough point to what McShann was able to do on that last play. That was a wide receiver screen the play before, and McShann kept his leverage to force a tackle, to force it to a 3rd and long. And so little things done by McShann today has helped his defense on later downs.
Bulls will punt. Andrew Stokes turns it over beautifully. And it checks up to be down near the 11. 21-0. Navy gets the football back on a beautiful afternoon near the Tampa area. 3:53 to go in the third.
Kevin and Trevor in studio number 4. Miami is in trouble. This is Aaron Philo to Chase Lane.
The backup quarterback for Georgia Tech been rotating in and out with the starter Haynes King to give that injured shoulder of King a little bit of rest.
Roy, it's 21-10 over on ESPN.
Weird things happen. Canes and Jackets getting together. Miami undefeated with that inside track to reach the ACC championship, likely against SMU. Lost by the Canes or the Mustangs opens the door back up for Clemson, which gets Virginia Tech at Lane Stadium at 3:30 on ESPN today. Heidenreich over the right side, a 1-yard gain. Rico Watson with the tackle near the line.
SMU, or excuse me, not SMU, but Miami and Georgia Tech again.
Last year, in case you forgot, all Miami had to do was kneel the football down. The game would end. Georgia Tech gets it back after a fumble on a play that didn't have to be run. And then some 70 yards later, as time expires, the game-winning touchdown pass. Haynes King is back on the field today for the Jackets. Got it done then. He'll try to do it again today on the flats in Atlanta. Horvath to the edge and a first down. He'll escape out of bounds after the chain-moving run of 13.
And that's that C-gap run. That's one thing Navy loves to do. They attack the C-gaps. Alex Teska, you're going to see a great block by him on the edge. And as soon as Blake Horvath sees it, you can see him accelerate through that gap. So that C-gap, right? It's right outside of the offensive tackle, right? So you have your center, your guard, your tackle, and between the tackle and the tight end, that's what they call the C-gap, right? The A-gap between the center and guard, B-gap between guard and tackle, C-gap right off the edge.
And off straight ahead. Rico Watson, another tackle, 4-yard gain. Teska continues to pound away this Navy rushing attack. Heidenreich, 84 yards on the ground. Fofana with 44, and here comes Teska approaching 40. And an injured player is Jamie Petway for the Bulls. Petway, the graduate student, a transfer from FAU. Out Orlando coming from Florida Atlantic. Hawthorne and Petway came with him. Albeit in different years. Second season in Tampa for Petway. We'll take a look.
See him there tracking, and his eyes are in the backfield. I don't know if he sees Eli Heidenreich on that hit. Sometimes the ones that you don't see are the ones that affect you the most. Talk about this game being a physical game and a brutal game, but when you're ready for a hit, you can brace yourself. When you don't see it, it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Petway to his feet. 2nd down and 6, and a good sign and a high five. Senior from Albany, Georgia.
Bro, we've talked a little bit about this game and what would it take for South Florida to get back into it. South Florida defensively, they've had stops on 6 of their last 7 drives. They forced 1 turnover, but I think what it may take is when that 2nd turnover comes they want to force, you have to start talking about scoring on defense. Yes, give our offense field position, but take the ball away, attack the ball, and when it's on the ground or in the air, score.
Shane Reynolds on the field for Navy. Serve as a lead blocker. Horvath on 2nd down. Push the pile to the 35, another 4-yard gain.
And the reason why, part of the reason why I say that is with every single 1st down that Navy gets, it's almost as if you just look up at the clock and like, man, you know it's about to be another 3 minutes that go by, you know? And so, yes, big time stops, but then when you get an opportunity, attack the football.
Well, the brilliance of the option offense while playing from ahead. The ultimate weapon. Team in search of its 7th win of the season. Heinreich went in motion. Horvath weaves his way for 1st down yardage. 5-yard gain on 3rd and 2. And the drive continues. Approaching a minute to play in the 3rd. And another injured player. That shoulder. Jason Vaughn. Super senior, native of Miami.
.65", 245 senior.
Physical game today. We have seen that on occasion between these two teams, and players slow to their feet. A variety of different injuries, and you see Vaughn wincing.
And I don't know if sometimes, Roy, you think about like how hot it is, right? We're in middle of November, and it's hot, probably in the 90s. Not used to this kind of weather. You're on the field a long time. Those things start to add up.
And a good sign, Vaughn to his feet. Alex Golish rushed all the way out there. The super senior.
Think about all that time on the field. And then he's seen by his own teammate. It's almost like that leg whip that happens, which from experience, those are some of the worst hits. Not only are they the bruises that happen, but also lower body, legs whipping. I mean, I've had a broken fibula before from somebody falling on my leg, a broken leg. And so those leg whips can be dangerous.
Play clock at 30. Horvath will snap it. Teska over the right side. 5-yard gain. And this Navy option offense, Alex Teska, Dabo Fofana, Brandon Chapman, Heidenreich, and Blake Horvath.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at this sideline for South Florida. I'm looking at the guys on the field, and it's almost like this sense of hopelessness because you don't know what you can do, not only to score, but to stop them. It's like you feel like you've stopped them, but is it really stopping them when they're running 7-minute drives and 6-minute drives? It's like a lose-lose situation.
Could be the final play of the 3rd. Horvath swallowed up by DJ Harris, and a gain of 1. Well, A scoreless third quarter nearly in the books, but Navy remains in control on the road in Tampa. 21-0 advantage, and 15 minutes away from victory number 7 and win number 5 in the AAC. Four fingers up with 15 minutes to go at Raymond James Stadium. And the Academy on the move. It's third down to start the fourth when we come back. This is the American Conference on ESPN. And don't forget, for a limited time, new and returning ESPN Plus subscribers can get 12 months for the price of 9 months. Visit ESPNplus.com for more information. 15 minutes to go at Raymond James Stadium on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in the Sunshine State. Sam Acho, Roy Philpott, Taylor Davis. Navy with the lead and facing 3rd and 4. First play of the fourth. The Mids rushing attack. 251 total yards. Teska straight ahead. It'll be 4th and 2. Analytics suggest 4th and 1 or less. Go for it. We'll see. Brian Newberry wants to keep his foot on the gas here with a 3-touchdown lead near midfield.
Yeah, if you punted last time, it would only make sense to punt this time, right? It was right around the same field position, right around the same 3rd and 4th and short. The mindset for Brian Newberry has been, let's win the field position game. We know their quarterback cannot beat us. We know their running game is not effective. Let's pin them back and do what we do.
And the punt team back with Riley Reithman. 7th punt of this game for the Mids. And a fake. Navy has it for a first down and a lot more. How about a big man rumbling down the far side and some love for Mr. Bear Hug, Landon Robinson.
Well, not just any big man, Roy Philpott. That's the big man, Landon Robinson. So let's not forget, this dude put on 45 pounds of muscle from the spring of his freshman year to the fall of his sophomore year. He wanted to get bigger. I was going to say faster, maybe not faster, but stronger. And for Landon Robinson, a 6-foot, 285-pound defensive tackle to run like that, man, I ain't gonna lie to you. They got to do a lot of testing for Army and Navy, some of the schools, the service academies. Man, what was his 40 time on that? You got to clock that.
Play clock winding down. 33 yards on 4th and 2, and Brian Newberry racing to call a timeout for the midshipmen. I thought he ran like the wind.
Well, he does have it in his genes, let's not forget. So Landon Robinson, his dad, Lance, went to Kent State, was on the gymnast team there, and he's running like he's about to do a triple, I don't even know what gymnasts do, but, triple flips, things like that. Look at him, and he tries to juke out the punt returner, Sean Atkins, lowers the shoulder. Landon Robinson, beast.
That's 285 crashing down on a $186 for Atkins. So we get you back to the studio and Kevin Connors.
All right, Roy, it's back to a one-possession game between Miami and Georgia Tech. Cam Ward to Isaiah Horton.
And they're just relying on him to bring them back. Look at the score, 21-10. 3 of the last 5 games, they trailed by double digits in the second half and came back.
But the Canes decide to go for 2.
Yeah, I guess they decided to make it a 3-point game, so we'll see if that point ends up weighing on this game.
21-16, Georgia Tech on top on ESPN. I think it's a triple Lindy, Roy.
Oh, the triple Lindy. I remember that quite well as you take a look. The best chance to enter the college football playoff undefeated. The Miami Hurricanes, the very top of a short list. Pending the outcome today, Horvath gobbled up at the 26 and sacked there by the Bulls defense. Loss of 7. Byard was able to reach him in time.
And that's actually what I was about to say. And thanks for Kevin Connors. Triple Lindy, of course, right? That's literally the thing that he was going to do. Great job, Taufik Byard. Great job.
The triple Lindy, do you remember what that actually was?
No,
like from
I
the movie?
No.
Back to School, the late Rodney Dangerfield, a great comedian, jumps off of 3 diving boards into the pool to win the meet for said university at the age of 60-something. It was a tremendous move. A graceful finish, just as we saw Landon Robinson moments ago. The tackle by Williams. Loss of 2 more, so the TFL for 44 in green and white.
And as much as we think that was a huge play, which it was, the defense for South Florida is still stopping Navy. So that was a big-time play, but that was a special teams play. That wasn't this defense. Defense is playing with a ton of pride and the heat against all these different formations. You see unbalanced right now. I mean, this defense has an opportunity to make another big stop.
This drive started with just under 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. Fake punt has been the difference so far. Still on his feet, Fofana. Shoved out by Ward. At the 10, it'll be 4th and short. Baba Fofana got to the edge. And Jaquez Williams, the injured South Florida player, remains down near the 24. Already 5 minutes off the clock on this possession. It'll be 4th and 2 for the Mids when we come back to Tampa.
The new 12-team college football playoff begins December 20th on ESPN.
Hard to believe next month, a new 12-team college football playoff is here. Navy was in position perhaps to crash that party. Army still with a chance. But the Mids on the road facing 4th and 2 with a 3-touchdown lead in Tampa. And acting like they will go for it after converting on the 4th down fake punt some 3 minutes ago. Landon Robinson now with 2 rushes for 58 career yards after that last effort. And the Mids still with a great opportunity to reach the AAC championship game. Horvath to the perimeter towards that front pylon for the touchdown. Well, the call came in late, but a great way to navigate his way to the front corner of the end zone, Sam.
So some teams on 4th and short do hard counts. This team, Navy, did a quick count. And let's see if Horvath gets past that pylon. And he does. The ball touched the pylon. The pylon is a part of the end zone. That, my friends, is a touchdown.
27-0. 87 yards in just over 7 minutes off the clock. A drive that began almost 4 minutes remaining in the third quarter.
It just goes back to those third downs, Roy. Like every third down that gets converted to a first down, it feels like some of the wind is knocked out of you. Though you've tried so hard, it feels like something happens and it's hard for this defense to stay strong for so long.
Kirkwood perfect today on the point after tries. And the Bulls are going to call a timeout. Not sure what the thinking was on an extra point try. Alex Golesh with a word with Kevin Randall, our referee today.
South Florida has called timeout to challenge the ruling on the field that there was a touchdown. Previous play is under further review.
Sam, our initial view, there appeared to be a little bit of green in between the shoe and the sideline for Horvath on that final step with the right foot before he was able to get right to the pylon.
Yeah, it seems to be a sliver of green between his white cleat and the white sideline. And that's the first thing you're looking at. The second thing is, does that ball cross the pylon and cross the goal line? And if it touches the pylon, it counts as a touchdown. So as soon as that ball touches the pylon is considered a part of the end zone. And so if the ball touches, the touchdown. Now, if a body part touches, they'll say, where is the ball when the body part touches? But right there, the ball's in his hand. Foot is still in bounds. Still see a little bit of green.
It's closer on that final frame before he reaches to the pylon, but the call on the field so important.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It's a touchdown. South Florida has lost their challenge and is charged to timeout.
Horvath back to the bench to celebrate another rushing score. So passing touchdown today. And now a rushing score for number 11 for the Naval Academy. And the Mids can begin thinking about what's to come. Final weeks of this regular season. And for the next 11 minutes and change, roll off the clock at Tampa. I mean, we've seen some crazy comebacks in college football this year and in previous years, but Midshipman defensively up to the task, and Blake Horvath rushing touchdown number 11.
Blake Horvath on the quick count. He's patient enough to let all the defense go inside, and then he's strong enough to dive, keep control of the ball, get to the end zone for a rushing touchdown for Blake Horvath.
ESPN College Football is presented by Ashley, for the love of home.
Well, Tampa has been known as Cigar City, a nickname that refers to the history of cigar production, including the world's largest cigar factory, which was located in Ybor City. And you see some of the fine craftsmen enjoying fruits of their labor. 28-0 Navy leading South Florida. Less than 12 minutes remaining here inside Raymond James Stadium. Sam Acho, Roy Philpott, Taylor Davis. Methodical-like approach, a workman-like approach for the midshipmen today, keeping the shutout intact. And the Millennial Wing T, new offensive coordinator Drew Cronick, imposing its will on the Bulls. We'll check in again in the studio with Kevin Connors.
And Roy, Georgia Tech is running all over Miami. This is Haynes King, another touchdown.
Right, and on the other side, Cam Ward and the Miami offense has really struggled. He was under 50% completion until their last touchdown drive to get it to 16. Defense is going to have to hold serve.
264 yards rushing for Tech.
Haynes King, the true difference maker now that he has been deemed healthy for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, trying to spring the upset. South Florida with a football back. Bryce Archie. Dump off to Teron Keith. And brought down to the 31, a 6-yard gain. Kyle Jacob with the tackle. And the tempo, we haven't seen a ton of it today. Bulls have been unable to get that initial first down throughout the majority of this second half. Keith will pick up one here, tumbling across the 36. And another 6-yard gain. Pierce, the tackle. Well, this is what Alex Golish and this offense are known for. The incredible tempo, the pace, wearing down teams in the second half. Archie gives himself up at the 40. Receivers haven't created the kind of separation that they thought they would be able to achieve today. There were certainly conversations this week in the South Florida locker room and on the practice fields, with Joel Gordon trying to figure out ways for Bryce Archie to attack the safeties in the corners. Just hasn't been there so far.
Prior to the snap, there was a buzz from replay. The previous play is under further review.
And it looks like they may be reviewing this for
Replay
potential.
review is for possible targeting.
Correct, for potential targeting by Kenneth McShann. I think the two things they'll look at is, number one, as soon as that slide starts by Bryce Archie, the play is over. And so they're going to be looking for forcible contact to the head or neck area of Bryce Archie, who as soon as he slides, he's considered a defensive player. So the slide begins right now, plays over. Now the question is, number one, is there contact? Is that contact forcible? I see contact, but I do not believe that contact is forcible. And that's what the referee is going to be looking at.
There's an area of subjectivity when it comes to these calls. To me, that does not look like targeting.
Correct. Doesn't look like I love that. I love that. It just doesn't look like targeting, right? You can go through all the specifics and the vernacular or
the launch, defenseless player,
that's
crown
not
of the helmet.
Correct. That's
forcible
not,
contact.
That's not targeting.
There is no foul for targeting. It'll be second down.
I'm okay with them looking at it. It made sense. A quick review. We're back to the game.
And I love how you just got to the point. You're like, hey, Sam, let's get all the other stuff out. That's not targeting. Like, if you want to talk about what targeting is and targeting isn't, that ain't it.
Very well said.
I will say this. One thing we've noticed on this drive Bryce Archie has checked the ball down a little bit more, and that's one thing that we heard the coaches say they want to see him do more. Check downs will get a few yards that they need.
Keith still in at running back. Archie threw that off of one leg, flailing downwards, and it's incomplete. Kendall Whiteside was right there at the feet. Archie was unable to set the feet, and as a result, an incompletion yields 3rd and 8.
And gotta love it, Kendall Whiteside's actually from Tampa, so he's playing a home game, essentially. Son of Larry and Doniva. Great job, Kendall.
Sefner Christian Academy. And now a deep ball with a man and a reception. Well, the big play arrives for Jaquan Smith.
Well, you talked about them looking for the deep ball. The deep ball has been there, but Bryce Archie had not been accurate until now. Jaquan Smith, he was a high school running back, but he's a sprinter for the USF team. 5'10", 180 from San Bernardino, California, showing off his speed.
Under 10 to go. Longest play of the day, a 48-yard gain. 2nd and 10 after the incompletion. Greg Johnson covering Keyshawn Singleton. Now the Bulls will have a road trip coming up to Charlotte, and Tulsa comes to town at Rice. Try to get to a bowl game, 2nd time in as many seasons under Alex Golish. Hoping to get Byron Brown back on the field at some point. He was close before today. Starting quarterback, one of the best signal callers in the AAC. Penalty marker will stop this play after a false start.
False start. Offense. All 11 players never became set. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Well, the Bulls on the move, and for Bryce Archie, Taylor a chance to try to get into the end zone.
They've certainly been disappointed with the lack of offensive production, but down here on the sideline, he has taken every opportunity to try and get better. He went up and down the sideline before this drive, high-fiving every skill guy and lineman ahead of this one.
Well, you like the leadership. Ron Keith still on his feet. Push the pile inside the 10. McShann the tackle. And a 9-yard gain for Teron Keith. Jaquan Smith, the injured Bull, remains on the turf here at Raymond James. Bulls haven't been shut out in 3 seasons. We'll keep it right here. 3rd down and 6, under 10 to go.
Another element I've noticed down here on the sidelines, guys, is just how much Archie is asking questions. He's very inquisitive, spends a lot of time with Byron Brown, something he told me he relies on, because while he stepped into this starter role the past several weeks, it's something he had not done since his senior year of high school in 2021. He spent 2.5 years as a backup, and he told me the biggest adjustment has been the speed of the game and learning how the position feels with adrenaline. Sam, we've talked to several guys about that over the course of this season, just the difference when you get an actual game environment. It's something he's having to learn in real time.
Well, to your point, Taylor, people talk about game speed. What do you mean by game speed? Well, in practice, 2 things happen, specifically at quarterback. Number 1, you don't have that same adrenaline because people can't hit you. And number 2, at quarterback, people actually can't hit you. And so you might run on a play and keep it and think you scored a touchdown, when in reality, an outside linebacker or defensive end would have either caught you from behind or hit you a lot harder than you expected. And so this idea of game speed, number 1, being this fact of you're not getting hit. Number 2, this adrenaline piece of, oh man, okay, now the lights are on, the defense is looking different, and they can actually try to hurt me.
3rd down and 6. We'll spot it at the 9. Bulls can obviously get a 1st down without scoring a touchdown this close. Maybe we'll show pressure. Bryce Archie looks back towards the sideline. Coastal Carolina transfer. The pump fake, hesitation, and a hard hit at the 5, bouncing forward. Deshaun Peel tackled Keyshawn Singleton, and it will be 4th down.
That was a hit, bro. I mean, I heard that and I felt that from up here. Deshaun Singleton, the 2023 All-AAC honorable mention, had 4 picks on the year, but that wasn't a pick. That was a hit stick and a critical one to force a 4th down.
So, Sam, the shutout may come down to this. Bulls still have time if they can score to try to get back in it. And the keeper, Archie, to the 5 and stopped there. He was stood up. And the initial indication, the mids have held on 4th down.
And don't tell me that this game doesn't mean everything to this defense. Look how excited every single one of these guys are. Yes, it's 28-0, but the biggest thing that matters is that 0. Brian Newberry is a former defensive coordinator for this team. As a defender, you take pride in that goose egg, that 0 being up on that screen. And so it started off with the Deshaun Peel big-time stop, and then everybody on that defense doing whatever they possibly could to keep USF from getting a 1st down and eventually a touchdown.
This season, Allstate will celebrate every field goal and extra point made by participating universities by making a donation to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, Allstate. Here in sunny Tampa, Daba Fofana. Navy gets the football back. He powers his way to the 14. 28-0, an 8-yard gain. Sam Acho, Taylor Davis, Roy Philpott. Mids are going to get that elusive 7th victory today and set up an enormous matchup a week from today, Senior Day in Annapolis. And Sam, we're going to be there on the call for Navy and Tulane in a game that has far-reaching implications in the AAC race. We'll see what happens with Army and North Texas as soon as we're done in Tampa. But down the stretch we come in a rough and rugged American Conference. Horvath under center. Fofana kept those legs churning. He'll be stopped short. 3rd down and 1.
And Roy, I know we're talking about the AAC and this is important, but this is almost like day 1 install for both of these teams because you know what's going to happen. USF, South Florida, knows they're going to run their basic install plays. Navy's going to try to enforce their will against an opponent that essentially knows what's coming. So this is almost that time where your will is and your mettle is tested. Game is over essentially, 28-0. Let me not say over, but you know what's coming. What are you going to do about it?
Heinrich shoves Horvath across the 15. That should be enough for the 1st down. On the 54th run of this football game for the Academy, Heinrich just gave Horvath an assist in football.
Correct. We usually like those terms for basketball. But man, this Navy team, it wasn't pretty today, Roy. It hasn't been pretty. They looked great early, had that touchdown late in the 2nd quarter. But this offense combined with the defense and then special teams could give both Army and Tulane challenges.
PJ Volker would like a word with you about the nature of the beauty pageant that has been constructed today by the midshipman defense. He's going to tell us this coming week this was a thing of beauty in a game like this as Grant makes the tackle. We've got 3 takeaways and 2 turnover on downs for 14th annual State Farm Champions Classic coming up Tuesday in Atlanta. Number 1 Kansas takes on Michigan State. An exclusive reveal of the next college football playoff top 25 rankings will follow at 8:30. And then another Sonic blockbuster, Duke and Kentucky. In a top 25 showdown, Cooper Flagg and the Duke Blue Devils. Cooper Flagg put on a show against Team USA as they got ready for the Summer Olympics in Paris earlier this year. There were some that were suggesting the Duke freshman could have played with Team USA. He's that good. We will see if that is the case this year.
And I'm excited to watch. I can't wait to watch not only Cooper Flagg, but we got college basketball season coming. The men's game, the women's game. A lot of new stars shining in basketball.
Approaching 5 to play. 3rd down and 5 for Navy. Kansas, an incredible comeback last night against North Carolina at home at the Phog, Allen Fieldhouse. They gave up a 20-point lead, trailed by 4 late, then came roaring back. And we told you Army and North Texas, as soon as we're done in Tampa, the play clock winding down, Navy's going to utilize a timeout. And for the Mids, Tulane comes to Annapolis next week. Senior Day, East Carolina. And then that final matchup on December 14th is intriguing because if Navy and Army finish in first and second place in the AAC, they're actually going to square off in early December, a week before that scheduled matchup on December 14th. And in the minds of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, that December 14th game, if Army is still undefeated at that point in time, does not count on the resume. They will have already determined the College Football Playoff. It's a lot to process and to think about in the new 12-team era that we're in. But we know this. Army and Navy are going to play December 14th, and that may be the second meeting that we see for America's game between those two rivals.
Correct. And to your point, that December 14th game does not have a bearing on their college football playoff ranking.
And for Army, let's be honest, Black Knights can get there by running the table, beating Notre Dame next week. And they've still got to get through the Mean Green later today. We've talked about that. They need to get Bryson Daly healthy. The incredible quarterback for the Black Knights. 4th down and 3. Navy will punt it away. Beat Notre Dame, and in my opinion, Army takes the place of Boise State as the Group of 5 leader and the highest ranked team in the college football playoff.
Just kind of flew by that, though. Beat Notre Dame, that's a big task. Navy, we all said that about Navy.
Task.
6 turnovers. Notre Dame playing some good football, though. Some of their star players are injured. Benjamin Morrison going to be a top corner. He's out for the season. But beat Notre Dame ain't that easy.
Atkins spins around, falls down to the 25. Now, Boise State, the inside track. If the Broncos continue to win, a 74% chance, according to the All-State Playoff Predictor. But there is Army, and that percentage of just 21 is going to skyrocket if they can find a way to beat Notre Dame.
And to your point, that would be the most signature win of all the Group of 5 teams. Boise State played Oregon early in the season. They lost by 1 score, but it was a good loss in the committee's eyes. But what weighs more than an impressive loss is an impressive win. So to your point, if Army can beat Notre Dame, they would jump Boise State.
Archie across the middle on the screen. Pierce brings down Joyner.
And Roy, real quick, I want everybody to watch how hard the Navy defense plays. I get it, 28-0, but this defense is still playing for that shutout.
Comeback route for a 1st down to Singleton. 8-yard gain. Mids have been impressive today. Bulls have had their chances. Turnovers, penalties on big plays. Late pressure. Archie stays alive and then is driven downward. McShann had the first chance. LaFond finally recorded the sack.
And if there's an MVP for this game, I mean, I'd give that thing to Kenneth McShann. He's been all over the field. A Superman dive over the blocker to force the sack. You saw big-time plays earlier, the sack by LaFond. You saw big-time plays earlier. Kenneth McShann is playing like the McMahon.
Well, he got the start today, and the comeback is complete for numeral 0 on Navy's defense. Tore his ACL in his freshman and sophomore years, 1 in each knee. Quite a day today for Kenneth McShann, the native of Birmingham, Alabama, a junior. And he has fulfilled an important spot at that striker position. P.J. Volker's defense. Across the middle into Navy territory, Singleton. Bulls with 2 timeouts remaining and the 2-minute timeout, a 16-yard pickup.
So now the refs are running in because South Florida made a substitution. So this is great for Navy. They get a chance to do almost like these full line substitutions, get a chance to get a bit of rest, and also they get the 2-minute timeout.
1st and 10 when we come back. Navy trying to keep the shutout intact here in Tampa when we return.
Kevin Connors in studio. A look at Jeff Monken and Eric Morris. Massive implications in both the American and the CFP. Army, one of 5 remaining unbeatens, and Denton set to take on North Texas next.
Should be a fantastic game in Denton, just north of Dallas and the Metroplex. There in the Lone Star State. Sam Acho, Roy Philpott, Taylor Davis in Tampa. And Navy continues its march towards the AAC championship game. And that pass by Archie ruled incomplete. Looking for Brandon Winton. And for the Black Knights, Bryson Daly has been one of the key stories at West Point. And that first 8-0 start since way back in 1996. The defense has been absolutely lights out. On the slant, first down for the Bulls to Joshua Porter. Gain of 20. North Texas can score. Chandler Morris, talented quarterback. They put up points in bunches this year. Army will be tested. On the curl to Winton. Career catch number 2. Freshman from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Wonder about that Notre Dame game, though. I know you talked about Navy and Notre Dame earlier in the season and how great Navy looked, but Army Notre Dame could be something special.
Could be. I mean, the physicality of Bryson Daly and what he does. It's a different style of option attack compared to what we've seen from Navy. Sean Atkins picks up the first. And the key is stay ahead of the chains. Don't turn it over. Give yourself a chance in the second half. Easier said than done. Archie towards the corner for the touchdown. Michael Brown-Stevens. Second touchdown of the season. The Minnesota transfer.
Make music, Michael Brown-Stevens. Yes, we talked about his uncle being John Legend, but he was mixing and scratching the defensive back on this route. He turns him around. He finds the corner of the end zone. Makes me want to shout.
28-6. Bulls line up for the PAT. John Cannon banks it through. Just getting started today. So many games with college football playoff implications. 3:30 Eastern, ABC, ESPN Plus. We're off to Oxford. Number 3, Georgia. 16th ranked Ole Miss, hotty toddy. And then tonight in primetime, Death Valley, the place to be. 15th ranked LSU hosting number 11 Alabama. Those two programs trying to stay on the right side of that new 12-team college football playoff bubble. Win tonight goes a long ways. And in terms of the mathematics, win by the Crimson Tide, 8 out of 10 chance, 48% chance for the Bayou Bengals with a victory over Bama.
And I think part of that reason that's 80% is that Alabama has the win over Georgia. So the committee's going to look at that win over Georgia and say, okay, that's another win. Now, LSU doesn't have that win. So though both teams have 2 losses currently, the committee has shown that they do care about who you have beat. And so at 80% with that win, a lot of that has to do with Alabama beating Georgia early in the season.
And you know the percentages tumble with a loss. Nico Gramatica, the kicker, son of Martine. And the onside kick quickly corralled by Heidenreich. We've seen him on a multitude of special teams as a punt return man, as a gunner, as a tackler for the Navy punt team. And that time, part of the hands team. Sam, you were part of that in Texas back in the day.
I was, and in the NFL. I loved, actually in Texas, I don't know if they trusted me to be on the hands team, but in the NFL, I was, and your boy did recover an onside kick or 2. But it's one of those things where, you know, usually they put me up there to block, but the ball came my way. I would just say, hey, man, ball chose me.
.65 seconds to go. Navy takes over. Bulls with 2 timeouts. We will see if they elect to utilize those. Midshipmen will end this 2-game losing streak and get revenge after last year's setback in Annapolis to South Florida. And perhaps one more play. Byron Brown hoping to gain health and strength. Bryce Archie otherwise will get set for his 5th start of his young career in Tampa. Braxton Woodson checks in. We will get you to Denton, Texas here momentarily, which should be the final snap. Braxton Woodson with a kneel down, and that'll do it. 28-7. Navy improves to 7-2, 5-1 in the American. And with undefeated Army coming up next on our airwaves, Navy secures the first win at South Florida in school history. Ryan Newberry, Alex Golish, plenty of respect between those two veteran coaches. As time ticks off and the Mids get the job done here in beautiful Tampa, Florida on this Saturday afternoon. Another big afternoon for Blake Horvath. Navy with 321 yards on the ground, and the Mids still in the mix and in control of their own destiny to reach the AAC championship game. Conference victory number 5, and Tulane comes to Annapolis next week as undefeated Army gets set to take the field in Denton, Texas against UNT.
Watching Veterans Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.